key to this game should be the St. Louis Cardinals offensive line.
The reason being, Jim, is that the Raiders are the #2 defense in the NFL, and they are the best team in the league at getting to the quarterback. They've done that 55 times. They're led by Howie Long, who has 12 sacks, and he is up against Tootie Robbins. So if Robbins can keep Long and company off Neil Lomax, and Lomax can get the ball to Green and Tilley, then I think the Cards will have a chance.
Well, when you think of the Raiders, you think of Howie Long, Ted, of course, Hendricks, and you think of that intimidating and punishing defense. But, hey, the Raiders have got some offensive stars and weapons in their own right.
They definitely have weapons. When you look at Marcus Allen, you look at Branch, Barnwell, and Jim Plunkett is playing some of the best quarterback of his career. So if the Cards are going to win, they must get some rush from Baker and Greer. They have to get to Plunkett. They have to create turnovers. And, Jim, that's the key defensively for the Cards. It's a large and difficult order, but not impossible for the Cards against the Raiders here today at the Coliseum.
Cardinals' Neil O'Donohue set to tee it up from the 35-yard line and back deep. Montgomery is number 28 to the top of the screen. Greg Pruitt to the near side, number 34. And, of course, for all you fans watching back at KMOX in St. Louis, we'll be updating that big Dallas-Washington game throughout the afternoon. But this game is underway. It's a low, wobbly kick taken on the near side by Pruitt. Pruitt back to the 15. Pruitt across the 20. Pruitt's got one man to beat. Neil O'Donohue, the kicker, the last man between Greg Pruitt and the goal line, and the Raiders start 1st and 10 from their own 43-yard line. The Raiders and their big play offense led by the veteran Jim Plunkett at quarterback. Former Heisman Trophy winner Marcus Allen in the backfield, along with number 33 Kenny King, and the wide receivers, and they're good ones, as you saw, Branch and Barnwell. The veteran offensive line, and they are, in a word, huge. The veteran, Jim Plunkett, out of Stanford, 6'2", 215. Wide receivers left and right. The lone running back is Kenny King. Powers over the left side, bowls his way up near the 46. The 5-year veteran out of Oklahoma who came over to the Raiders in a trade with the Oilers back in 1980, stacked up by Kurt Allerman, a 7-year pro out of Penn State. And talking about the defense, Doc,
Bubba Baker and Curtis Greer are capable of getting to the quarterback. They must get there today. E.J. Jr., the fine linebacker, 3 sacks last week against the Giants. He will help. This is a secondary that's young and developing. Benny Perrin, number 23, will be around the ball all afternoon, Jim Kelly.
Slot to the right side, motion by Marcus Allen, top of the screen, 2nd and 7. Kenny King, second consecutive carry, dives to about the 48-yard line. Allerman in there stacked him up again, helped out by E.J. Jr. in his 3rd year out of Alabama. And this is a different St. Louis Cardinal defensive unit since E.J. Jr. has returned.
E.J. Jr. is one of those linebackers. You hear about all the good ones. You hear about the Hugh Greens. You hear about the Lawrence Taylors. E.J. Jr. has that kind of ability. Of course, he was drafted number 1 in 1981 out of Alabama. Had some troubles this year, but he's back and he's playing well.
Let's see if Jim Plunkett and the Raiders will put it up. Plunkett, of course, 190 completions, 318 attempts, 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Raiders looking at 3rd and 6 now from their own 47.5-yard line. Plunkett's first pass. Here come the Cardinals. Todd Christensen, first down for the Raiders inside the 40 of the St. Louis Cardinals. Benny Perrin in pursuit, the 2nd-year free safety out of Alabama. But Todd Christensen, and what a show he put on about 12 days ago against the San Diego Chargers.
And what a year he's having. Here he drives inside, just breaks outside, away from the defensive back. Great hands, makes the reception. Coming into this weekend, he was leading the NFL in catches with 78. He's having a spectacular year. There
you see what Todd Christensen has done coming into this game. He's just caught his 79th pass as he approaches 1,050 yards. He has 12 touchdowns. Marcus Allen chopped down at the 34-yard line as the former Heisman Trophy winner, 2nd year out of USC, just down the road here in Los Angeles, in the grasp of Curtis Greer. And Marcus Allen this year is the 7th leading rusher in the AFC. There you see his stats. Not quite what he was doing last year, but Marcus is doing more things. He's a better blocker. He's making less mistakes. He's also caught 60 passes, Jim Kelly, for over 500 yards, an all-purpose back. He's also thrown some touchdowns, 3 to be exact. So a real triple threat. Wide receivers left and right. Backs are split. Plunkett will put it up on 2nd and 6. Goes up top, wide open, Kenny King, touchdown! That is Kenny King's first touchdown catch of the season. from the 34-yard line, and Kenny King, watch how badly he beats Benny Perrin on this 34-yard scoring strike.
You watch it here. He's out of the backfield. Allen is staying into block throws, a fairly decent block. Perrin just can't stay with King. He makes a good catch, takes it into the end zone, and this is what the Cardinals did not want to happen. Let the Raiders get on top, and it could be a rout, Jim.
Chris Barr, number 10, 8-year veteran out of Penn State, has missed 2 extra points this year. He's 45 of 47 out of the hold of David Humm. The Raiders, making short work, have gone on top 7-0. They scored on their very first possession, and they didn't use up very much time. Raiders on top over the St. Louis Cardinals by a score of 7-0. The Cardinals' first possession when we come back. Well, they used just 2:47 to start the first quarter, the Raiders did. They went 56 yards in just 5 plays. The last, a 34-yard scoring strike from Jim Plunkett to Kenny King. So Chris Barr will boot it from the 35. Steve Bird, who averages about 21 yards per kickoff return, is back deep, along with Willard Harrell. And Harrell fields at 7 yards in the end zone. So the St. Louis Cardinals start 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. Benny Perrin beaten badly, Doc.
Jim, if you're a defensive back, look here. Benny Perrin bites on the play-action fakes, starts to come up. It's man-to-man coverage. He has King all the way. See, he bit on the coverage. King ran right by him. There was no chance. He was guessing at that point, and that's why he was beaten for the touchdown.
Neil Lomax brings the Cardinals out. Lomax, 178 completions, 302 attempts, completing about 59% of his passes, 20 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. 1st and 10, double tight end alignment. Marsh and LaFleur in there for the Cardinals. Lone running back, Otis Anderson, number 32. Play action fake. Here comes Lomax to go up top. Goes underneath instead. Otis Anderson, the safety valve man. First down for the Cardinals at the 31-yard line. Bob Nelson in there on the coverage, 7th year out of Nebraska. This is what the Cardinal coaching staff told us last night that St. Louis would have to do early in the football game, was come out throwing and try to negate the pass rush. The backfield for the St. Louis Cardinals, we talked about Otis Anderson. He only needs 5 more yards to go over the 1,000-yard mark. And the young offensive line, they've got their work cut out for them, John.
They certainly do, because they're playing against the number 2 defense in the NFL, an aggressive defense. And when you get behind, the Raiders just tee off and come after you.
Green and Tilley lined up in a slot to the left side. This is Otis Anderson, who is knocked down almost at the line of scrimmage, barely gets back to the 31. Again, Nelson, number 51, in there in the tackle defensively for the Raiders. Let's take a look now at the Raiders defense. They play the 3-4. We will be talking most of the afternoon about Howie Long, the youngster out of Villanova, but he's still growing.
And Lyle Alzado is back after an injury. He's having an excellent year. Their linebackers, the same group when they won the Super Bowl in 1980. Of course, Ted Hendricks, the leader. Defensive backs, Hayes and Haynes may be the best 2 cornerbacks in the NFL.
That is Otis Anderson, and he may get a first down. They needed about 10.5 as it was 2nd and long yardage. And that Cardinal ground game, Alzado in there in the tackle, blocking up front by Randy Clark and by Otis Anderson. We talked about Howie Long out of Villanova. You know, he played all 4 years in Villanova, and he wore the same pair of cleats.
Howie Long is one of those defensive ends that you don't hear that much about. You hear about the Freddie Deans, the Mark Gastineaus, but Howie Long may be a more complete defensive end because he plays the run so well. He also rushes the passer. 12 sacks leads the Raiders.
Slot to the right side. Roy Green along with Pat Tilley. I pro set Morris and O.J. Anderson. O.J. knifed down behind the line of scrimmage for a loss of 1. Brings up 2nd down and 9. Matt Millen, 4th-year linebacker out of Penn State, number 55, in there in the tackle for the Raiders.
Take a look at number 75, Howie Long, left side of your screen here. Watch how well he plays the run. He breaks inside, plays off his man, comes down the line of scrimmage, and gets in on the action. Tootie Robbins could have a long afternoon. Of course, Tootie Robbins only in his 2nd year out of East Carolina. A good one, but still developing.
First punt of the football game. Greg Pruitt is back deep. Carl Birdsong, who averages about 43 yards per punt. Low snap from center. Raiders are coming, and Birdsong bangs a beauty. It backs Pruitt up to the 17, loses the football, but picks it back up, and he is sandwiched down at the 23-yard line. So the Raiders, who used 2:47 and went 54 yards on their very first possession and scored on a 34-yard strike from Plunkett to Kenny King, will have their second possession coming up, and they have a 7-0 lead against the Cardinals. The man behind the man in the red jacket, number 32, O.J. Anderson. We mentioned coming in, he needed just 5 yards to go over the 1,000-yard mark for the 4th time in 5 years. And the 6'2", 220-pound running back, a first-round pick of the Cardinals back in '79 out of Miami of Florida, has done that so far this afternoon. Receivers are split 1st and 10, so are the running backs. Plunkett goes up top again. He's looking for Cliff Branch. He's got Cliff Branch. He beat Wayne Smith. It's another first down. And the Raiders, it's going to be a long afternoon if the Cardinals don't shore up their secondary.
Jim, one of the things the Raiders do more than any other team, most teams in the NFL, they're not a dink passing game. They like to go downtown. They have great speed on the outside, typical of the Raiders team. Here, Plunkett gets good protection and just lays it out for the speedster Cliff Branch. I don't know what Wayne Smith was doing. He bit on the fake. Long completion for Branch and the Raiders. Take a look at it again. He's got 5 yards on Smith. Benny Perrin is trying to help out. The pass is complete.
Cliff came into the game with a total of 29 catches, averaging over 18 yards per carry on 1st and 10. This is Kenny King. First down inside the 10 Raiders. No letdown. They have clinched the AFC West, and they are marching toward the playoffs.
And you may recall that Kenny King was injured on Monday night, not another week ago, and they thought it might have been serious, but it was only a jammed neck. He's back, and the Raiders are certainly excited about that. Marcus Allen, Kenny King, a dynamic duo in the backfield. Nice balance.
Big blocking on the right side by Mickey Marvin, 7th year out of Tennessee, an All-American, and Henry Lawrence in his 10th year out of Florida A&M. As you look at the concern all over the Cardinal coach, Jim Hannafin. Marcus Allen behind the line of scrimmage in the grasp of Kurt Allerman, the middle linebacker, also helped out by Lee Nelson. Now the front four of the Cardinals, John, as you know, they like to play the pass first and then react to the run, and they did it well that time.
That's what they do. Penetration is the key to the Cardinal defense. Baker, Galloway, Greer, and Grooms like to get across the line of scrimmage. That's why you won't see the Los Angeles Raiders doing much play action today, because of the penetration of that 4-3 defense. They're aggressive. They can make things happen. Washington on top of Dallas, 7-0 first quarter.
2nd and 11. Marcus Allen in motion. Frank Hawkins now the lone running back. Plunkett looks in the end zone on the post pattern. Fires in. Incomplete for Cliff Branch.
Jim, there's no defensive back in the world that can cover a receiver like Branch or a Christensen if he has that much time. We said it earlier in the show. If Plunkett is given the time and if his big offensive line can keep the lights of Baker and Greer off him, then it's going to be a long afternoon. We need inspirational performances, if you're a Cardinal fan, from that front four. So far, we haven't gotten it.
Jim Plunkett now 3 out of 4, 103 yards passing, 3rd and 11 from the 11-yard line. Raiders need the touchdown. They can't get a first down. Branch left, Barnwell to the right side as you hear Plunkett calling signals. Marcus Allen did that on his own. He gets it down inside the 5. Benny Perrin finally made the tackle, and it'll be field goal time as Chris Barr trots on out. So the Raiders will score, if this is good, on their very first possession. This is just a chip shot for Chris Barr. 8 years, as we said, out of Penn State. He is 17 out of 23 in the field goal department. And out of the hold of David Humm, this is almost routine.
And it's interesting, David Humm is the backup quarterback. Mark Wilson a couple of weeks ago hurt his shoulder, broke his shoulder, but they say Humm is the best holder in the NFL. He's got the quick, sure hands, and that makes it easier for a kicker.
We've got a 10-0 Raider lead against the St. Louis Cardinals early in the first quarter. A 22-yard field goal by that man, Chris Barr. His kickoff coming up. The Cardinals trail by 10. The Raiders 11-3 in complete command. The St. Louis Cardinals had entertained some slim playoff possibilities. They came in at 6-7-1, but right now they have fallen behind 10-0. Willard Harrell breaks it to the 15, across the 20, down at the 22, and that's where the Cardinals will start 1st and 10, trailing 10-0. Let's find out how the Redskins scored. Let's go to New York. Here's Brent Musburger.
Jim, they scored in their typical fashion. They went to John Riggins behind a beautiful block on Michael Downs that sealed up the left side. Riggins stepped on in, his 22nd rushing touchdown of the year, 7-0. The Redskins are dominating. Back to Jim.
Thank you, Brent. Here in Los Angeles, the Raiders are dominating, as the Redskins are early in Dallas. Of course, the Cowboys' story all year long has been the comeback. Just what they did that opening game against the Redskins when they fell behind 23-3 at halftime and came back to win it 31-30. Motion, top of the screen. Neil Lomax will throw on first down. Outlet pass. O.J. Anderson's got a convoy, and Anderson barrels down to the 30-yard line in the grasp of Reggie Kinlaw, former All-American in his 4th year out of Oklahoma.
You have to take what the defense gives you. That time his receivers were covered downfield, so Lomax wisely went to Otis Anderson, who is a fine pass receiver out of the backfield, Jim. You talk about Marcus Allen having 60 catches. That's a lot for a running back. Well, Otis Anderson coming into today's game had 47 catches for almost 400 yards. He has 1 touchdown. So he's a good one. He's got good hands. He can come out of the backfield.
Double tight end alignment in there now for St. Louis. Number 80 is Doug Marsh, and number 89 is Greg LaFleur. They're all lined up strong to the right side, along with Tilley and Roy Green. Tilley comes wide, near side, bottom of your screen. Lomax will fire on 2nd and short, throws it out of bounds as the rush was put on. That front 3, Kinlaw, Alzado, coming busting through along with Howie Long. He looked in the general direction of Roy Green, and already the black and silver of the Raiders, Alzado is fired up.
As you look at Roy Green, he's expecting a long afternoon. Talking to him yesterday, he says, you know, Lester Hayes is playing me, and yes, I'm having a great year with 67 receptions for over 1,000 yards, but I know it's going to be a tough afternoon because of Hayes and Haynes, maybe the best cornerbacks in the NFL. They play a lot of man-to-man coverage, and that allows the rush to come on. It allows the Oakland Raiders to blitz and get to the quarterback. Of course, they lead the NFL in that category with 55 sacks.
Tilley to the right, Green to the left. 3rd and 1. O.J. Anderson will not get the first down. The Raiders' defense is stiffened. Ted Hendricks, 214 consecutive games. He has not missed a game since he came into the National Football League way back in 1969, a 2nd-round draft pick of the Baltimore Colts. So Birdsong will punt it away for the 2nd time, and Pruitt is back deep. And the Raiders should come out of this again with good field position. They've scored on their first 2 possessions, a field goal by Chris Barr and a 34-yard touchdown toss from Jim Plunkett to Kenny King. Pruitt, who you're looking at right there, averaging about 12 yards per punt return. Here come the Raiders. Birdsong, high but wobbly kick. Pruitt, the fair catch at the 40-yard line, and he is sandwiched down. That is number 45, Leonard Smith, who made a rookie mistake.
Leonard Smith, of course, the top draft choice in '83 for the Cardinals out of McNeese State. And Smith, I don't understand what happened to him. He just lost the presence of mind, or perhaps he didn't see the fair catch. But take a look at it again. It's clearly signal for a fair catch. His hands in the air long before Smith gets there. Smith may have been distracted by a blocker. There he makes the hit, thus the penalty. And the walk-off. So the Raiders, who have scored on their first possession, we said they'd have good field position, will have even better field position. Jim, sometimes on special teams, you're so preoccupied with doing your job and being aggressive and getting down to make the tackle that you don't see things like that. You're fighting off a blocker and you don't see the fair catch.
Interference with the fair catch, number 44, first down.
This would have to be, John, a big defensive series for the Cardinals. They've given up 10 points already. We've got 5:24 and a scoreless first quarter, scoreless just for the St. Louis Cardinals. 5:24 left to go in the first quarter here in Los Angeles. The Raiders trying for home field as far as they can go. They've already clinched the AFC West. Cardinals have slim playoff possibilities. It all starts with winning in this game. Otherwise, nothing else matters. Marcus Allen falls down. E.J. Jr. just made the tackle secure.
And you know, I had a chance to talk to Al Davis before the game, and he said to me that he thought that last year's Raider team should have gone all the way to the Super Bowl. Of course, the Jets knocked them off. So I asked him to compare this team with his 1980 Super Bowl team. He said, you know, I think this may be a little bit better, though we have lost Shell and Upshaw, 2 of the fine offensive linemen, but we've gotten Marcus Allen, we have Christensen, and Plunkett is playing as well as he did in that Super Bowl year.
From the 48 of the Cardinals, 2nd and 13. 5 defensive backs in there now for the St. Louis Cardinals, anticipating play action from Plunkett. Straight drop. Here come the Cardinals. Plunkett scrambles out wide open. Marcus Allen down at the 42. He picks up a long 3.5, and it'll bring up 3rd and long for that man, Jim Plunkett. Lionel Washington, the rookie out of Tulane, the man that tackled that man, former Heisman Trophy winner Marcus Allen. For you fans back in St. Louis, that's now a final. The Bears have beaten the Vikings by 6. Chicago still has some playoff possibilities. The Vikings are out. Houston upsets Cleveland. So much for the Browns' playoff hopes. Cleveland now out of it. And San Francisco, of course, tied with the Los Angeles Rams for the top spot in the NFC West. beating Buffalo. So much for Buffalo's playoff chances. New Orleans still alive. A 3-point win in overtime against the Eagles. 3rd and 6. Underneath, Marcus Allen, first down at the 33.
And Jim, you sense Jim Plunkett is in control of this, total control of the game. And Jim Plunkett early in the year had his problems. He was banged up a lot. They replaced him with Mark Wilson. He sat for a few games. That allowed him to get healthy, and now he's comfortable and in control of the entire offense. He takes a big hit after the throw from Curtis Greer, but it's too late. The pass is complete for the first down.
That's the 6th first down picked up by the Raiders, just 1 for the Cardinals. It's 1st and 10 for the Raiders. They lead 10-0. They've got the ball at the 33-yard line of St. Louis. Cliff Branch wide to the left side. Malcolm Barnwell out to the right. Pitch back, Marcus Allen. Frank Hawkins with a block, and you can just see the gait of Marcus Allen waiting for Hawkins to throw the block. It kind of reminds you of number 32 for the Pittsburgh Steelers there, Franco Harris. Rather than go in and barrel in and maybe take the hit and risk the knee injury, he goes out of bounds. And that, Franco has told us many occasions, has really prolonged his career.
Well, I think it was interesting in talking to Allen yesterday that he thought maybe, he went through a very intensified preseason and off-season workout program, and he said he came into the season and he was actually tired, maybe burnt out early, and it's only now that he's getting his strength back and really feeling good running the ball. It's odd because you would expect just the opposite.
Barnwell right, Branch to the left side. Motion by Christensen, the tight end. Marcus Allen inside the 25, approaching the 24-yard line in the grasp of Charlie Baker in his 4th year out of New Mexico. Let's go back and check in with the scoreboard. Bengals have beaten Detroit. That means for the Lions to win, they must beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' final game of the season for the Lions to win the NFC Central. Bengals in the role of spoiler. Look at that one from Dallas. The Redskins 14-0 against the Cowboys. They're playing down in Texas just the way they played at RFK Stadium. And Seattle, they've got some slim playoff hopes. They beat the Giants, who Doc is convinced quit a week ago. Inside handoff to Greg Pruitt, who hurdles down in the vicinity of the 23. If he crossed the 23, it'll be a Raider first down.
You know, Jim, you mentioned the Giants, and of course last week the Cardinals edged the Giants by a score of 10-6 in one of the worst games I think played in the NFL this year. The Giants, of course, having their problems on offense at quarterback, and the Cardinals not a great game. So when you think about the teams coming in, the Raiders on a roll, they've won 5 straight. They're getting healthy. They're bound for the playoffs. The Cardinals, sloppy win over the Giants. Their playoff hopes are slim, having a tough afternoon so far. Biggest question was whether the Cardinals would be able to get up in that kind of a situation. Apparently not so far.
Plunkett looks right corner of the end zone and went underneath to Todd Christensen, incomplete. Charlie Baker putting the pursuit on Plunkett and got to Jim back at the 33-yard line, getting up a little slowly. You talk about that Giants game, though. The Cardinals defense didn't play too badly. They only gave up 9 first downs to the Giants and only 10 completions on 35 pass attempts by New York. They had 3 sacks and 4 interceptions. And New York only got 142 yards in total offense in that game, even though it was played in poor weather. So St. Louis's defense has been coming on, but so far Plunkett has simply picked them apart.
You mentioned the as Jim Hanifin wonders along the sideline what he can do. The weather conditions had a lot to do with last week's game and the statistics, Jim. You're right.
2nd and 10 from the 22. Plunkett. Wide receivers. Barnwell right, Branch to the left. Pitch back. Marcus Allen. Kenny King with a block. Look at Marcus Allen, and what a move at the 22-yard line. Number 52 had a shot at him, Charlie Baker, and Marcus simply gave him the hip to the right side, took it away, and Cedric Mack made the tackle. Watch the hip and the move put on by Marcus Allen.
Also watch number 46 occupying number 52. See 46, Christian staying with him right there, and then a great move. You're right, exactly. Marcus Allen makes the move to the outside. Oh, he's so smooth, such a dancer.
3rd and a passing situation perhaps for Jim Plunkett. They need 4. Branch goes wide to the left. Barnwell comes out to the right side. Christensen remains the tight end. And the backs are Kenny King, along with number 32, Marcus Allen. Kenny King behind the block of Marcus Allen. First down inside the 6. And the Raiders are just in complete control of this football game.
Marcus Allen has already carried the ball 7 times for 23 yards. Kenny King is complimenting him. Take a look at it again. Offensive line doing an excellent job. They're big, they're strong, much like the Washington Redskin philosophy of, gentlemen, we're going to come at you straight ahead with our big offensive line. And here, take a look at the block that made it possible right here. Okay, that's 46, Christensen. He occupies Baker. And King just bolts on through there for a good gain.
Other blocking on that right side by Mickey Marvin and by Henry Lawrence. And it's first and goal for the Raiders, who are about to seal the Cardinals' playoff fate very early. St. Louis led 7-0 against the Dallas Cowboys back on Thanksgiving in Texas Stadium. Then Dallas came roaring back. St. Louis have not been a good come-from-behind team this year. Raiders lead 10-0, and they're knocking on the Cardinals' door once again. Time left in our first quarter here. It's been all the Raiders. Meanwhile, Texas Stadium, the Cowboys have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 11-yard line as they are falling behind the Redskins by a score of 14-0. It's 1st and goal here. Raiders send Cliff Branch out wide to the right side. Christensen, the tight end, Baxter split, Hawkins, and Marcus Allen. 1st and goal, and a 10-0 Raider lead so far. Cliff Branch ups that lead to 16-0. He beat the rookie Lionel Washington.
And Jim, Lionel Washington last week had a terrific game against the Giants. He had 2 interceptions, but this time Branch coming on motion. Take a look at the right side of your screen. You won't see him. He comes in motion. He bounces off Washington, and then Plunkett just lays it on the outside. Watch Branch. Adjustment to the ball, makes the catch for the touchdown. Here, take a look at it again. He actually pushed off Washington after coming in motion. Comes back to the outside. Washington can't recover. Branch makes the reception.
And for Cliff Branch, that is touchdown reception number 4 on the year. That is Chris Barr's 5th point of the afternoon. He's got a 22-yard field goal and 2-point afters. It's a 17-0 lead for the Raiders. No letdown, and we've still got 12 seconds left to go in this first quarter.
And as you look at Cliff Branch, over the history of the Raiders, one of the reasons that they've won is they had the great outside receiver on the left side. They had Powell, and then they had Warren Wells, and they've had Cliff Branch. And that's what Al Davis told me. That's one of the reasons they win. And with Branch now healthy, coming off his pull, they're going to be ready for the playoffs.
Well, there's been only one meeting between the Cardinals and the Raiders way back in 1973. They then, of course, were the Oakland Raiders. It was a 7-point win. You can see there are 5 players on the field here today. Cliff Branch, along with Dalby and Guy. Ray Guy was just a rookie back then. 3 of them for the Raiders, and for St. Louis, Jim Hart, the veteran quarterback, along with Dan Deerdorf, who played in that game. How about the coaches? What an evolution, huh?
I know. Madden, Flores, Coryell, Hannafin, Gibbs, and 3 of those coaches have won Super Bowls. Isn't that amazing? 10 years ago.
Madden, of course, was the head coach. Tom Flores, an assistant. Coryell was the head coach of the Cardinals, and Jim Hannafin and Joe Gibbs were his assistants. This is Stump Mitchell, who fumbles the football and is in big trouble at the 7-yard line. When it rains, it pours. We've got 3 seconds left in a very poor first quarter for the St. Louis Cardinals. It'll be a long plane ride back home if this keeps up.
And Jim, I want to quickly tell you that coming into the game, we talked about the playoff possibilities for the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, they're very complicated and a little bit difficult. St. Louis would have to win their last 2 games, obviously. San Francisco or LA would have to lose 2. And Minnesota, New Orleans, Green Bay would have to split their final 2 games, thus finishing at 8-8. Therefore, the tie would play for the St. Louis Cardinals. Of course, they're losing 17-0 now, so their playoff hopes are disappearing in a hurry.
They don't win this game. All of the tiebreakers don't matter. Chargers lead the Chiefs 10-0. O.J. Anderson barrels across the 10, breaks it to the 15, and bowls his way out of bounds at the 21. That'll give Lomax and St. Louis some breathing room. 2 touchdown tosses by Jim Plunkett, a field goal from 22 yards out by Chris Barr. 17-0 Raiders lead St. Louis.
First quarter of play. Raiders 17.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Light Beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less. GE. At GE, we bring good things to life. And by the Champion Spark Plug Company, the performance guaranteed spark plug.
Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to the Coliseum here in Los Angeles. The Raiders lead by a score of 17-0. Cardinals have just picked up a first down. O.J. Anderson around the left side. It's 1st and 10 St. Louis from their own 21, but they've got to get something on the board, and they've got to do it quickly.
Take a look at the time of possession. The LA Raiders have had the ball over 10 minutes. St. Louis, less than 5 minutes. Tough to stay in a game when you only have the ball for less than 5 minutes and a quarter. And Jim, one of the problems of playing catch-up against the Raiders is they just don't allow you to complete passes upfield. I think in the last 4 games, teams have only completed 3 or 4 passes up the field on the Raiders.
Tough to play catch-up. Just ask the San Diego Chargers. Slot formation to the left side. Tilley comes out. Now it's Green wide to the right side. Marsh in motion, bottom of your screen. Lomax goes airborne. Penalty flag is down. Lomax looks deep, fires underneath. Incomplete at the 30. And where's the flag down there? Looks like Tilley was bumped before the ball arrived. In the meantime, Ted Watts was the defender back there, but let's check the call.
Penalty flag on the play.
Looks like it's offsides against the Raiders. Jim, and you're right. He was bumped by Watts before the ball got there. But I think Lomax also did a wise thing. He dropped back, and then he rolled the pocket to try and get away from the big rush of Long and company and the Raiders.
Here's Fred White, the referee.
Encroachment, number 36, first down.
Jim, while we have a minute, let me just tell the folks out there that this
We don't have a
telecast...
minute.
We don't have a minute. Okay,
20 seconds.
20 seconds. This telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Los Angeles Raiders and the National Football League is prohibited.
1st and 5, Cardinals. Green to the right, Tilley to the top of your screen. Marsh in motion to the bottom side. Lomax goes airborne again. Goes up deep. And a badly thrown ball falls incomplete harmlessly at the Raiders' 40-yard line. Looking for Doug Marsh, the tight end out of Michigan. But Marsh was staying down on the sideline, and I think Lomax thought he was going to turn it inside.
And it's interesting, when you have such great cornerbacks like Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes covering Roy Green and Pat Tilley, they can almost cover them one-on-one. They'll also double cover them. So Doug Marsh becomes a very important factor. Now, Marsh is not the speedster that can get down the middle and go for the big touchdown, but he has the ability to get over the middle and to make the catch on a possession type of pass.
Now it's 2nd and 5 for the Cardinals. We've got 15:48 left to go first half. It's been all Raiders. O.J. Anderson will not get the first down. He is sandwiched down at the 26 in the grasp of the Mad Stork, Ted Hendricks. You know, some people got it real tough. Even at practice. What was that he was driving?
It's interesting that we went to practice yesterday. As you take a look at Ted Hendricks holding his ground and making this play. It's Ted Hendricks, when they moved down from Oakland to Los Angeles here, bought himself a limousine because the equipment manager, the assistant equipment manager, wasn't going to get enough money for the move. Ted Hendricks said, wait a minute, I'm going to buy a limousine. I'll have this man drive it for me. So Ted Hendricks has this huge 20-foot-long limousine parked outside of practice. That's how he traveled.
It was 1st and 5. It's now 3rd and 4. How tough's that Raider defense? Penalty flags all over the place. Incomplete at the 38-yard line. Looking for Danny Pittman, number 85. Jim Hannafin said he would see a lot of action as the 3rd wide receiver this afternoon. But let's check the penalty flags. Thrown in the secondary of the Raiders might be defensive holding. On the other hand, it might be illegal procedure.
Penalty indicated against the Raiders.
Well, the Cardinals will pick up a first down by virtue of a penalty. First, the Raiders were offside. Now the illegal procedure. You're in trouble if you can't move the ball 5 yards in 3.
12 men on defense. First down.
I'd say that's illegal procedure.
I would say so.
And that's why the Cardinals are having so much trouble moving the ball. The Raiders have been playing with 12 guys.
The Raiders don't have to play with 12 guys. They're that good. Here, take a look. You can count them, folks. Okay, there's 3 there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Where's that 12th guy? Dallas has done that in the past.
1st and 10 for the Cardinals from their own 32-yard line. That's Marsh in motion, bottom of your screen. Lester Hayes comes over and picks him up with a bump and run. Lomax airborne, looks underneath, got it, incomplete. Marsh had the ball right in his grasp and it bounced off his chest. He had beaten Mike Davis in his 6th year out of Colorado, along with Bob Nelson, number 51, who was back there on the coverage. You know, your receivers have got to catch that kind of a pass if you're going to come back from a 17-0 deficit. If they start giving up this point of the football game, you can get on the team bus and go to the airport right now.
Exactly, because you put your offense in a situation of now having 2nd and long, and that's what the Raiders want. That's the time they can tee off and come after your quarterback. I mean, we all talk about first down being very important. It's critical for the Cardinals here today.
2nd 10. Pitch back. O.J. Anderson's got a convoy. Barrels over his own blocker, breaks it at the 39 as he just ran over Mike Davis, runs out of bounds, and a penalty flag is thrown over on the Raider bench. Let's check the call again. Personal foul against the Raiders, the preliminary indication. You know, they say of the Raiders, they don't pay bonuses, they just pay bail.
I want to see that again from the end zone, Jim, because if you watch Otis Anderson, right, 222 pounds, watch him here on the right side. He actually runs over Tootie Robbins, number 63. He says, get out of my way.
Personal foul,
can't make the block.
unnecessary roughness, number 26. First down.
And get some extra yardage. Watch this late hit right there. That's the personal foul, number 26, Van McElroy.
From the 42, the Cardinals' deepest possession so far. Green to the left, Tilley to the right. First and 10. Lomax. Safety valves it out. O.J. Anderson looks for a block and will have to do the rest on his own. By the time he gets done, a lot of running and pushing and shoving, but a loss of about 1.5 yards. Reggie Kinlaw and Bill Pickel, and they're the rookie Pickel out of Rutgers. How many players in the National Football League out of Rutgers?
Not too many. I can't think of any others. And Pickel is one of those young guys that's pushing Alzado. He already has 6 sacks this year. But you saw a little pushing and shoving there. So typical of the intimidation factor that the Raiders have used all throughout their history. That little extra push to distract you from what you're doing. A little extra intimidation. San Diego leading Kansas City in the second quarter by a score of 10-7.
Slot formation to the left side. Marsh, the tight end. Now he shifts it up with Roy Green, who's lined up outside Pat Tilley. 2nd and 11. Lomax goes up top, fires Roy Green inside the 20. Green down to the 16. 1st and 10 for the St. Louis Cardinals. Van McElroy back on the coverage, but Roy Green came up with a big catch for the Cardinals.
And Roy Green, with that great speed, just breaks inside on Lester Hayes, number 37. Take a look at the right side of your screen, the upper corner. There he breaks away from Hayes inside. They were in a zone. McElroy tries to help out. Take a look at another angle. They play mostly man-to-man. This time they were in his zone. Green got underneath it, and he's great after he catches the ball. He was a running back in high school, and he has terrific speed, a real burner at 4'2".
Roy Green 2 years ago was the 5th defensive back in the Cardinals' defensive secondary. He was the first player to go both ways in 2 decades of professional football. 1st and 10, St. Louis. Wayne Morris bowls his way down to the 12-yard line. Looks like the Cardinals have got something going, and it sounds like the Redskins have got really something going. Let's go back to New York. Brent, what's doing?
Jim and
All right, Brent Musburger has got a busy afternoon. Scores and highlights coming up at halftime with Brennan Irv. Meanwhile, the Cardinals looking now at 2nd and 6. Handoff to Randy Love. Randy Love cracks his way down inside the 9, stopped at the 8-yard line by Big Bob Nelson.
When you talk about the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins, of course, they are the elite in the NFL, but I'd have to say that the Raiders aren't far behind that team. You might include Miami as the top 4 teams in the NFL. And the reason I say the Raiders might have a good shot against Dallas and Washington is that their defense is so strong, so intimidating.
You know, you look at the black and silver of the Raiders right there, and you talk about intimidation, and I've got to go back to what Chuck Noll has told us. When the Steelers are referred to as being an intimidated team, he said, we don't intimidate anyone, you intimidate yourselves. This will be a Cardinal touchdown. There are no flags. Randy Love, and now they say his knee went down at the half-yard line.
Boy, it looked like Randy Love was going to get in the end zone.
I would say so.
6-yard gain.
Let's take another look at it if we can see. Good play by the defensive back here. There's some penetration. Love plays it off, keeps his balance. Good blocking right there by number 80, Doug Marsh. And right here, Love just can't stretch as number 36, Mike Davis, pulls him to the ground. They're only inches away, Jim Kelly.
Earl Farrell, Otis Anderson, Wayne Morris. 3 running backs in there now for the Cardinals. 1st and about a half a yard. Who else? O.J. Anderson and the Cardinals coming back from a 17-0 whitewash in the first quarter. That's got to be pleasing to that man, Jim Hannafin, who has done some kind of a job for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's in his 4th year as the head coach. Had St. Louis in the playoffs this year. A 6-7-1 record as we see it coming back. Starting out but really 2 different seasons for Jim Hannafin. Lots of injuries, the suspension of E.J. Jr. They got off to a disastrous beginning, but they've only lost 2 of their last 8, and the Cardinals believe in that man.
And exactly right, and Jim Hannafin believes in his team also. If you look at the extra point, blocked.
But there's a penalty flag down, so let's check that penalty. Howie Long, believe it or not, offside against the Raiders, so the Cardinals will get another chance.
Jim, just picking up on that theme about Hannafin and the Cardinals, you know, most of the teams outside of the 4 we just mentioned, the elite, are very close. And I think the Cardinals have some stars. They have the Lomaxes, the Otis Anderson. They have some good defensive players. They have Tilly. They have Roy Green. They're not far away from being competitive. The only problem is they're in the same division with Washington.
Defense, re-kick.
And Dallas.
Out of the hold of Benny Perrin after the offside against the Raiders, Neil O'Donohue, who had that disastrous Monday night game, the 2020 tie with the New York Giants. Here come the Raiders again. Howie Long. Howie Long is pointing at one of the Cardinals and saying, look, there was a little bit of motion there. And he's 6'6", 275, and he did it, we are told by the Raider people, on peanut butter sandwiches, not on a weight program at Villanova. You know, when he came out of high school, he grew up just a couple of miles from the combat zone in Boston. You're familiar with that, having attended school at Harvard. And there were only 2 schools interested in Howie Long. Boston College was one, and Villanova was the other. And he chose Boston College because of their de-emphasis on the he chose Villanova because of the de-emphasis of the importance of football. He said, we bussed to all our games. We stayed in motor hotels, 4 or 5 in a room, no hot showers. We didn't have scouting reports. We didn't have films. And we already said he played in the same cleats for 4 years.
Right. And now he's making his living. It's kind of ironic that he wanted a de-emphasized program. Now he's making his living playing in the NFL and doing it so well, as we've mentioned before.
That touchdown by O.J. Anderson, his 4th of the year. And we'll try the extra point for the 3rd time, and it's a charm. Neil O'Donohue this time rams it on through. So we've got 9:58, and the Cardinals a bit of a comeback. They trailed 17-0 early. Right now their deficit is 10. They still have playoff possibilities. Doc, that would have to be a character-building drive for the Cardinals. They started at their own 6-yard line. You're behind 17-0. Would have been easy to just quit at that point.
Easily, but that is a good drive, no doubt about it. And now the defense has to set the tone. The offense has shown that they can move the ball. They can score against a very fine Raider defense. Now it's time for the defense to make something happen. An interception, a fumble, and then the Cards would be right back in this ball game.
Indeed, I think if the defense had been playing with the intensity of the offense, this would be a much different football game.
And it's a little surprising, Jim, because the defense has played well for the Cardinals, as you noted earlier.
Pruitt is back deep, but this will be Lee Montgomery at the 6-yard line. He breaks it across the 15, and look out. At the loose football at the 21, but I believe they're going to say the whistle had blown. Randy Love in there in the tackle. Montgomery, by the way, is the brother of Wilbert Montgomery, who, of course, is the star running back of the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles, by the way, lost to the New Orleans Saints 2017 in overtime this afternoon, so New Orleans, believe it or not, still, like the Cardinals, has some slim playoff possibilities. Mr. Dockery.
How about this? Next Sunday, CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA basketball continues with an exciting matchup between Louisville Cardinals and the NC State Wolfpack. And Jim Valvano, of course, on Saturday that game. Valvano last year, they were the champions. They have another shot at it this year. 1st
and 10 for the Raiders. A big explosion over that left side. Marcus Allen doing the running, but the blocking supplied by Dave Dalby in his 12th year out of UCLA. By the 7-year former All-American out of Alabama, Charlie Hanna, the brother of John Hanna, who's playing down the road in Anaheim, the Patriots taking on the Rams, and by Bruce Davis, number 79, also out of UCLA. 2nd and 4 from the 27. Big defensive series for the Cardinals. They've got to keep the Raiders off the board to get back into it. Branch wide to the left side. Barnwell out wide to the right side. Marcus Allen, convoy, student body right. 1st down as Allen just slithers up near the 34-yard line in the grasp of Bubba Baker and Dave Galloway, but too little, too late.
Take a look at it from the end zone. Good blocking by the offensive line. Allen just takes the pitch. You see the line pulling out, leading the action out in front. That's Henry Lawrence, number 70. Nice cutback by Allen. Gets the 1st down.
You know, you look at Marcus Allen, he is really the first triple threat since Sammy Baugh.
Isn't it amazing? Out of the, he's thrown, there's his statistics today. He's thrown 3 touchdown passes of his 4 completions in 7 attempts.
He can run, he can catch, and he can pass. Also passing is Plunkett. He's got Barnwell at the 39, and he is driven backwards on perhaps the Cardinals' best defensive play so far by the rookie, Lionel Washington, a 4th-round pick in '83. That man right there out of Tulane.
And you talk about Marcus Allen, and you have to think a long way back to the guys that were the triple threat guys. I mean, Frank Gifford, Paul Hornung, but there isn't one that I can think of in the NFL right now, Jim Kelly, except maybe your friend from Chicago, Walter Payton, does a little of that.
But I don't think he does it quite as well as this man, Marcus Allen. They don't really call on Payton to be in the offensive scheme quite as much. He doesn't throw the ball as much as Marcus, and he doesn't have the rifle arm that Marcus does. Marcus is a quarterback in high school. Plunkett will go up top on 2nd and 4. That's a first down to Christensen, the big tight end at the 45, and it's another first down for the Raiders.
And look at this, the Raiders, intimidators, always ready to do battle anytime. That's part of the way they win. That's part of the way they psych out their opponents. Here, Christensen going at it. What an intense player he is.
Todd Christensen in his 5th year out of BYU. Can you believe it? A free agent picked up by Al Davis, who just has a way to pick up the Howie Longs and the other fellows like Christensen. And this is what Jim Hannafin was talking about last night at our production meeting, the intimidation factor of the Raiders. And they give you that little extra pop, whether it's an offensive or a defensive play, after the whistle.
And that's the way Flores and company.
Number 46, unsportsmanlike, number 51, first down.
Maybe the silliest flag in football. What it amounts to is a free fight.
A free fight, Kurt Alleman on defense and Todd Christensen on offense. But it's interesting. Take a look at it again. Christensen going over the middle, gets bumped. But here just finds the open zone, hooks between the linebackers, takes it down. Now watch after this. He actually got in the battle. We won't see it.
From the 45, 1st and 10 Raiders. They lead by 10. They may lead by more if Marcus Allen breaks that one around the right side. Out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Lionel Washington chased him out of bounds. The Raiders' offensive line, I think, is the difference in the football game. We talked about the Cardinals' offensive line being the key, but the Raider offensive line has taken total domination of the game.
Well, they're a huge offensive line. Lawrence, number 70, 270. Mickey Marvin, also 270 pounds. Dalby, 255. Hanna, 260. Bruce Davis, 285. So they are big and strong. And, of course, a guy like Allen hides behind him, ducks between him, and makes the big yard.
They don't feed that offensive line. They just take them to beef and brew, and then they hose them down. Another, well, 2nd and with the length of the football, and that is that first down over that right side. Frank Hawkins, 10th-round pick in '81, having his best year for the Raiders.
Take a look at, excuse me, Jim, I was going to say, take a look at number 50, the center, right there. Dave Dalby, 2nd year out of UCLA. He's the one they go over. Right here, you see him working on Dave Galloway, number 65. He gets some help from Charlie Hanna. The first down.
Dave Dalby, 12th year out of UCLA, 6'3", 250. Has played now in 173 consecutive games. Dokie Williams, rookie, number 85, out wide to the right side. Grant to the near side. 1st and 10 Raiders. Marcus Allen just lopes away from a couple of the Cardinals. He was stacked up behind the line of scrimmage. Looked like it was going to be about a 3 or a 4-yard loss. Gave him the hip, took it away, and turned that loss into a pickup of about 4 yards.
We're talking to Marcus Allen yesterday. He's been a little bit frustrated. You saw him carrying the ball out away from his body. He already rushed for 49 yards in 11 attempts. Some fumble problems because he's been a little bit frustrated. Last year, it all seemed to come so easy, all of the yards. This year, they've been a little bit tougher, and he's been frustrated in trying for those extra yards, and he's coughed the ball up.
That's what he said. He said the fumbles were simply a result of frustration when he's trying to stretch it out for a couple of extra yards. 2nd and a long 5. Frank Hawkins. He breaks the tackle. Gets it down to the 35-yard line of the Cardinals. E.J. Jr. made the tackle, but again, the man who missed the tackle could have had him 3 or 4 yards further upfield.
This is so tough for a defensive player. Here, take a look at it. E.J. Jr. will be outside all by himself, one-on-one. Here, he squares himself up. There's a good fake. He bites some of it, but still holds on for the tackle. That's the toughest play in football, Jim, when you're head up on a good back in the open field.
Big 3rd down play for the Cardinals defensive front right now. They show 5 defensive backs. It's 3rd, a long 2. Branch to the left side. Marcus Allen. No problem, Marcus. Look out. Down at the 20. It's another Raider first down. Betty Perrin prevented a touchdown.
Jim, he's so comfortable. He said, I'm learning the system. I feel more comfortable with it. And here he shows that. Watch him. He glides, waits for a second for his blocking to evolve, and then just turns it on right there and gets the big yardage. That's being comfortable. Take a look at the blocks that made it happen. That big offensive line leading the way. But also, excuse me, Jim.
Mickey Marvin, and watch Christensen right there holding his block as well.
And Bruce Davis, number 79, but also Allen helping to set that up by not rushing through the hole, waiting, faking, and setting up the blocks.
1st and 10 Raiders. Motion Christensen, top of the screen. Cardinals changed their defensive alignment, and a great defensive play by Curtis Greer in his 4th year out of Michigan. Number 1 draft pick in 1980 of the Cardinals. He has 11.5 quarterback sacks. Kind of a quiet-spoken guy around the hotel last night.
Very much so. And if you're going to be a complete running back, you also have to block. Marcus Allen here, not blocking his man. Greer just pushes him aside. A very poor effort. Greer makes the big play.
You know, Greer was a little bit upset reading the Los Angeles papers what his coach Jim Hannafin had to say about Howie Long. Hannafin said Howie Long is the best defensive end in professional football. Greer was kind of sulking around the lobby last night.
Not only that, he said, wait till I show this to Al Bubba Baker.
Marcus Allen chopped down at the 19, so it'll bring up 3rd and long for the Los Angeles Raiders, who lead 17-7.
Excuse me, Jim. Lee Nelson, a strong safety, made a good read, shot the gap, and made the tackle.
So it's 3rd and long, and again, it's a big defensive series. Around the NFL today, Kansas City falling behind by the same score we've got here, 17-7. San Diego is down the road.
Wow, that's a surprise.
I would say so. John Elway having a rough afternoon against the team he refused to go to play for. And just down the road in Anaheim, Eric Dickerson and the Rams putting it to New England 7-0 early. Wide receivers left and right. Barnwell to the right side, Branch to the left. They need 10, the Raiders do. Touchdown. That was simply a bad defensive play by E.J. Jr., who turned his back and had no idea where the ball was coming from or where his man was going to.
Jim, this is a bad situation defensively, scheme-wise, when you get a linebacker like E.J. Jr. one-on-one on a Marcus Allen. And you're right, Jr. does not play the ball. He's playing the man. Had he looked up, he might have been able to bat it away. But that's something you want to avoid as a defensive team. Marcus Allen will beat E.J. Jr. 9 times out of 10 on a one-on-one situation.
Out of the hold of David Hum, Chris Barr has his 3rd extra point of the first half. He's got a field goal. He's got 6 points, but the Raiders have got a huge lead against the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals ball when we come back. Time remaining in the first half in what is going to be a long afternoon for the Cardinals unless they can start to play some defense. Jim Plunkett is simply picking them apart. 10 of 12 in the passing department, 157 yards for Plunkett, 3 touchdown passes in the first half. Barr, boots of beauty, stumped Mitchell. 5 yards deep, will run it out. And not get back to the 20-yard line. Questionable judgment.
Very questionable, I guess. You have to take your opportunity, though, Jim. He's hoping for a big play, possibly to break it.
So we've got 3:04 left to go in the first half. The Cardinals trying the comeback trail. They're down by 17. Jim Kelly, John Dockery, welcome back to the Coliseum in Los Angeles. Cardinals trail by 17. You saw the time left in the first half. They need a touchdown. Underneath the safety valve, O.J. Anderson will break it big. 23-yard pickup for Neil Lomax and O.J. Anderson. Now you could see the indecision on Lomax. He wanted to go deep, but this was the touchdown.
This was a touchdown. You see E.J. Jr. and the Cardinals have 6 defensive backs in the game. Why they wouldn't put a defensive back on Allen, Marcus Allen right here, I don't understand. But there, E.J. Jr. never looks for the ball. Allen beats him easily for the touchdown. It's a mismatch, Jim Kelly.
Anytime you get that running back on a linebacker, but when you get a Heisman Trophy winner, you got a danger zone. 1st and 10 for the Cardinals after that 23-yard pickup. Marsh in motion, top of your screen. Lomax, badly thrown ball, actually closer to one of the Raiders. Looking in the general direction of Roy Green, but he threw it over Green's head, and Van McElroy, 2nd year out of Baylor, former All-American and a 3rd-round draft pick back in 1982, closer to the ball.
when you think about Neil Lomax playing against this fine defensive team, it's really been a gradual development for Lomax now in his third year. 1981, he had 4 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. 1982, in the short season, Jim, he had 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Coming into this game, 20 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions. That's the mark of a quarterback who's growing.
Not much you can do on 2nd and long when you're playing power football over the middle and you're down by 17 points. I don't understand it.
It is hard to understand. Lomax is going to have to take this game in his hands. When you're down 24-7, Jim Hanifin knows it. You have to throw out the game plan. He wasn't going to be conservative coming in. He told us that he was going to put the ball up, and he felt he had to get the ball to Green and Tilley in order to win. They haven't been doing it, so they're losing 24-7.
Back again at the Coliseum, you see the score and the time left in our game. The Raiders up big over the Cardinals. Meanwhile, at Texas Stadium, Redskins leading Dallas by a score of 14-7, but the Cowboys have the football, and they've got it at the Redskins' 40-yard line. Scores and highlights with Brent Musburger at halftime. Right now, the Cardinals looking at third and a long 8 from the shotgun. Lomax will look for Roy Green. He's got Roy Green. Green will break it at the 50-yard line, and he picks up the first down at the 48-yard line of the Raiders in the grasp of Mike Davis.
Take a look at it from the end zone. And next, we were just saying Roy Green has been very quiet. Here they go to the shotgun. They're telling everybody we're going to throw the ball. Gets a little more time for Lomax. The blitz is coming. A good pickup. Roy Green makes the intercept. The reception and a good tackle by Mike Davis prevents him from going a little further. So a good pickup by the back from the St. Louis Cardinals. The blitz was on. You saw Randy Love pick up the blitzing linebacker.
No way, you're looking at Roy Green. After his first game as a receiver, he caught one for 60 yards. We'll pick up on that in a second. Meanwhile, 1st and 10, and Lomax will go up top for Roy Green. Green incomplete, but a penalty flag is down. 1st and goal, St. Louis. Mike Davis all over the back of Roy Green.
Roy Green is the big play man for the St. Louis Cardinals. We don't have to say that. He already has 13 touchdowns. Here they try to go downtown. He has great speed. And remember, he just...
We were talking about this man, Roy Green. He started out as a 5th defensive back in the Cardinals' defensive secondary. He started then at wide receiver against the Dallas Cowboys. He caught a 60-yard pass in that game. The next game he came back, he caught 4 passes for 115 yards against the Redskins, and he still played defense in that game. And he had one of the rare treats of picking off a Joe Theismann pass. So he caught a touchdown pass, and he intercepted a pass in the same game.
And Jim Kelly, a very questionable call. Mike Davis running with Roy Green. They're both stretching out for the ball. He may have bumped him. Then again, they both might have been going for the ball. Very close call.
1st and goal for the Cardinals. Slot formation to the left side. O.J. Anderson in the backfield. Lomax bending in. Here come the Raiders. There goes O.J. Almost a dangerous play, Doc. He had that football out there in the left arm.
And the guy who made that play was McElroy, number 26, by cutting off O.J. to the outside, forcing him to come back inside. The pursuit came across. You saw Greg Townsend, number 93. Take a look at it again. Otis has got great speed. Look to the left of your screen, number 26. Watch him contain just the way he's supposed to do. Now, he doesn't make the tackle, but he forces O.J. to slow down, and the pursuit gets him.
24-7 our score here in the first half. That much for a Cardinal touchdown, trying desperately to close the deficit to 10 points. Lomax to Marsh. Marsh bumped out of bounds at the 2-yard line in the grasp of Van McElroy. All-American out of Baylor, who has 7 interceptions. Penalty flag is down in the Cardinal backfield. Let's check the call. Looks like it might be against the Raiders.
Take a look at this. Lomax throws the ball, and he is clobbered by the Raiders after he throws the ball right there. And that looks like the penalty. Marsh can't get in the end zone. McElroy again, a strong tackle.
Roughing the passer, number 56, hit in the head. 1st down.
Boy, you know, when you play defensive back, you don't want to see that tight end coming out at you. You did that for a lot of years.
Oh, I know. He's so big and strong. The problem is, take a look at it again. Number 56, Jeff Barnes, goes up high to the face with his hands. That's the reason it was called. Jim, had he hit him a little bit lower, I don't think there would have been a penalty. That's the style of the Raiders, though. I'm going to hit you if I can.
1st and goal. Play action. Lomax, touchdown. Doug Marsh, the tight end out of Michigan. And the Cardinals, offensively at least, showing an awful lot of character. Again, another long scoring drive. Their first one was 94 yards. This one capped off on a 1-yard scoring strike from Lomax. to the tight end, Doug Mark.
Good read by Lomax, and watch the soft hands. Marsh just puts those hands up, catches it very casually, gets the touchdown, puts the Cards back in this game, 24-13. Lomax under pressure impressed me. He was able to get the read and find Marsh open in the end zone.
You know, if Coach Hannafin can talk to the defense at all and get them to play some kind of intensity, as when it rains, it pours. Neil O'Donoghue misses the extra point, but again, a penalty flag is down. Want to bet it's offside, Raiders?
How about Howie Long? What do you think?
Howie Long is not eating peanut butter sandwiches. He's eating the left side of that Cardinal offensive line.
Here they go. Howie's going, hey, come on, Neil. Think about it again. Yeah, we may have been offsides, but you're going to miss the next one. They've been doing this for so many years, you almost have to laugh.
Number 83, re-kick.
It was 83, Ted Hendricks' time.
With Howie Long to the rescue. 21 ticks left on the clock. So wait a minute, I didn't do anything. I said it at the beginning. They don't pay bonuses for the Raiders. They pay bail money. Out of the hole, the Perrin snap is high, and the kick is blocked. You can't advance a blocked extra point attempt, so it will remain a 24-13 game. The scoreboard here had anticipated the extra point. They had already put it up.
This is incredible. O'Donoghue has had a horrendous year. All of those problems. The snap was high, in fairness to him. There's the block from the outside. It was Jeff Barnes, number 56.
As we watch Howie Long, well, we'll talk about Howie Long when we come back. In the meantime, 21 seconds left to go. Raiders lead by 11. Squib kick by Neil O'Donoghue with time expiring in the first half. Raiders will start from their own 36-yard line, 1st and 10. Let's see how Tom Flores and Jim Plunkett will elect to play it right now. And again, the tempers are flaring. And again, a penalty flag comes down again. In the middle of the mix is Matt Millen, the veteran linebacker out of Penn State, number 55. Meanwhile, Texas Stadium, Irving, Texas, Cowboys have the ball inside the 20-yard line of the Washington Redskins. Redskins clinging to that 14-7 lead. Be a long afternoon for our referee, Fred Wyatt. Be a longer afternoon for that man if he doesn't get his defense on track.
Interesting as you look at Tom Flores along the sidelines that Jim Hannafin told us that he didn't want his team to back off, but he also didn't want his team to be so distracted by the intimidating characteristics of the Raiders that they'd lose distraction.
Personal foul, number 45, first down.
Number 45 is Leonard Smith, the rookie out of McNeese State. That's the second personal foul on Leonard so far this afternoon. And really, I think, John, it changes the complexion of things now. You've got Plunkett, who has had a field day passing the football, 3 touchdown passes, 18 seconds left to go, and it's already across midfield. I don't think they'll sit on the ball.
The Raiders seldom sit on the ball. They're very aggressive offensively and defensively. That's one of their trademarks.
Allen motion to the left. Barnes and Barnwell out wide to the right side. Plunkett looks for somebody. The ball is picked off and then dropped. Curtis Greer had it picked up. That's a free football. That is number 78, Grooms. That is a touchdown, St. Louis. There are no flags. Curtis Greer forced the fumble. Bubba Baker came in from the other side. And the bodybuilder, number 78, Elias Grooms, carries it in for a Cardinal touchdown.
And there is joy in St. Louis. We talked about them sitting on it. Maybe the Raiders should have sat on it. Instead, Plunkett goes right back to pass, showing the arrogance of a good team, saying, I want more points before the half ends. Here he is. Watch this. Greer on the rush. There's big Bubba Baker. Gets his hand on the arm, on the ball. Greer almost intercepts it. Instead, it bounces around. And then Grooms, a 9th-year man out of Tennessee, picks it up. And he's off to the races for a touchdown. Cardinals back in this ball game.
Now we come to what has become the most interesting point of the football game. The attempt for the extra point. Raiders have been offsides. They've had all sorts of problems. This one is up, and it's good.
Not necessarily artistic, but it was good. A knuckleball.
Well, you remember what Jim Hannafin said when he talked about artistry and whether it's pretty or not after the game against the Giants last week? He said, I'll take an ugly win over a pretty loss anytime.
And the same thing with an extra point. He'll take that one. It wasn't exactly beautiful, but it was there. So
the Cardinals score 2 touchdowns in a space of just 12 seconds. and are right back in this football game, despite the fact that Jim Plunkett has thrown for 3 touchdowns, and it was total domination by the Raiders in the first quarter and midway through the second stanza as well. We've got a 4-point Raider lead and just 6 seconds left to go before intermission here in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, as they approach intermission at Texas Stadium, Cowboys have the ball 1st and 10 at the 12-yard line of the Redskins, and Washington holds on to that 14-7 lead.
Whew. It's hot down in Irving, Texas. We'll keep you posted on that.
Scores and highlights coming up with Brennan Irv at halftime, and John and I will explore the playoff possibilities from around the NFL in the second half. We check those early games and update all of the late games as well.
And Jim, you have the definitive answer on all the tiebreakers in the NFL. I understand you're going to do that in the second half. I'm looking forward to it.
58 seconds left to go, we are told now.
As he ignores me.
First half. I'm not even sure I understand the playoff possibilities of this game, let alone the other 19 teams that are still in contention. 58 seconds left to go in that Redskin-Dallas first half, and it's 14-7 Washington. This is Matt Millen, who will bull his way to the 33 with just 1 second left on the clock, and now time runs out. Meanwhile, Danny White has just had a touchdown pass dropped by Tony Hill in Dallas. That would have tied it up. They were looking at 3rd and 12, so Septien is coming in for a field goal try. But Tony Hill was wide open, and it would have been a tie football game at Texas Stadium. Meanwhile, back at the Los Angeles Coliseum, that's good. We went 30 minutes before one of us did, right? 24-20, Doc.
And there's Jim Hannaford. Has to be happy with his team because they weren't intimidated. They were down 17-0, but yet, Jim, they came back. A big play by the defense. We talked about it early.
So we're at halftime here in Los Angeles, 24-20. Scores and highlights with Brennan Irv coming up. Stay tuned. The NFL Today continues after this word from your local station.
Sponsored by Chevrolet. America is on the move, and Chevrolet is supplying the wheels. Chevrolet and you taking charge. And by AT&T, the more you hear, the better we sound.
Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to the Coliseum here in Los Angeles. The Raiders have come out of the tunnel. The Cardinals across the field have also come back out. There's our score at halftime. Keep in mind it was 17-0 in favor of the Raiders as they were trying to clinch home field in the playoffs just as far as they could go. They have, of course, already clinched the AFC Western Division. You take a look at the first half statistics, and it was all Raiders in that first quarter.
It was all Raiders in the first quarter, Jim. As you mentioned, they had the ball almost in the entire first quarter. Cardinals only 4.5 minutes or so. But the Cardinals came back in that second quarter, a good drive. They got back in the game. You see the Raiders are dominating in total yards, 241 to 132. But the big play is that turnover by the Raiders, the fumble by Plunkett. Cards ran it back in, and they got back in this game. So the Raiders have been dominating, but the Cards have hung in there. They put 2 quick touchdowns on the board.
A couple of key points as you look at Jim Plunkett with 3 touchdown passes in the first half. Cardinals have to start playing some defense, otherwise you can turn out the lights. The offense has been really very, very good considering the fact they were behind 17-0. And we talked just before the break about Roy Green, and he would have to have a big second half. They're still double covering Roy Green, but how about Pat Tilley? He hasn't had a ball thrown in his direction. He doesn't have a catch. If the Cardinals are going to win this football game, Tilley and Green will have to be main contributors in the second half.
Certainly so. Otis Anderson has been doing his share, carrying the ball. He's got 36 yards. He's caught a couple of passes, but you're right. Lomax must get the ball, as we said at the top of the show, to Green and Tilley.
Chris Barr will tee it up from the 35-yard line. Stump Mitchell and Earl Farrell are back deep. This is Mitchell who will field 2 yards deep. He approaches the 10. 20, breaks it across the 30. Good field position for the Cardinals at their own 33-yard line. Chopped down by Calvin Mohammed, second year out of Texas Southern. So Neil Lomax, 8 out of 12 in the passing department, 81 yards, 1 touchdown. Will trot on out along with the offense of the St. Louis Cardinals and the running back, O.J. Anderson. There is Lomax. And, of course, O.J. Anderson needed just 5 yards to go over the 1,000-yard mark for the 4th time in 50 years. Veteran out of Miami, he did that early in the first quarter.
First and 10, St. Louis. Number 34.
Slot formation to the left side. Green is outside. Tilley is inside. I-pro set. O.J. Anderson. Big yardage down at the 40-yard line. And what made it all possible, Doc, was a great block by number 24, Wayne Morris, in his 8th year out of SMU.
And O.J. Anderson is the workhorse. Take a look at it again. Wayne Morris will lead the block in front. They're in the I formation. They pitch back to Anderson, gives the back a little more time to read. There you see the block by Morris out in front, and that allows O.J. to get a few extra yards. You know, Mitchell, anything can happen. Mitchell has 3 returns for 60 yards. They get good field position in the second half. I can imagine Hannafin talking to them in the locker room. I'll pick on that, up on that in a moment.
Wide receivers left and right. Green to left, Tilley to the right side. Cardinals look at 2nd and 4. Little delay. O.J. Anderson, look out into Raider territory down at the 45-yard line. Chopped down by Van McElroy. First down for the Cardinals again.
A little misdirection fake to get that Raider defense moving. They're great pursuers, the Raiders defense. They pride themselves getting around the ball. A little misdirection step by Anderson, and that allowed, take a look at it again. Watch the block by Bostic, number 71.
And while you look at that block, you're looking at the St. Louis Cardinal offense, 13th in the rush. The Raiders, of course, ranked 2nd in the National Football League in total defense. They're 4th against the rush. So that offensive line of the Cardinals starting to do what we said at the top of the telecast they would have to do. Play well and take command of this football game, both on the run and on the pass block. Slot formation left side. 1st and 10, St. Louis. The flea flicker back to Lomax. Lomax looks underneath to Marsh. He's got Marsh. Marsh has got a first down. Ted Watts, 3rd year out of Texas Tech. Interesting. Lomax wanted Roy Green. He looked at Green on the post pattern. Then he looked off. He saw Green was going into double, and I think maybe even triple cover.
Not only that, he had Pat Tilley downfield. This was shows tremendous maturity for a quarterback. The temptation is to here is to assume that the deep pass will be there. Here he gets a little bit of rush, dumps it off to Marsh for the first down. That's an intelligent, maturing, comfortable quarterback.
Neil Lomax, can you believe he had 7 touchdown passes in one game, 4 in one quarter against Delaware State? And as a freshman at Portland State, he started out as the 5th quarterback.
Come a long way since then, Jim Kelly. He is the quarterback of the future for the St. Louis Cardinals, the quarterback of the present also.
Slot left, Green inside, Tilley outside, inside handoff to Stump Mitchell. Stump Mitchell breaks a tackle at the 30, did it on his own, got away from Howie Long, and is wrestled out of bounds at the 27 of the Raiders. Big opening possession, and so often you talk to the coaches, they say the opening series, 3rd quarter, sets the tempo and will dictate the entire second half.
Because Jim Hannafin in the locker room said, look guys, we got a chance to come back in this game. I'm proud of you for doing that, but now we have a chance to come back and beat one of the best teams in football, and we can build on the end of the season. We can gain pride, respectability as we think about next year and a slim shot at the playoffs.
Jim Hannafin, the head coach, a tough, hard-working, likable Irishman, great offensive line coach under Don Coryell. Gets his shot in his 4th year, trying to get the Cardinals into the playoffs. They have not been there for a long time. Lomax gets a block, puts it up, looks for Roy Green. A great catch at the 7-yard line.
They don't like it, Jim, but take a look at Greg LaFleur, number 89, allows Lomax to get the time. Take a look at it here.
And watch after he passes the ball. I don't know if we'll see it, but roughing the passer after Lomax releases the football on Howie Long, and that man, number 56 for the Los Angeles Raiders, that is Jeff Barnes.
How about this catch along the sidelines? He's in. Whew, what an excellent catch. Take a look at the roughing. Howie Long, number 75, right here, reading, pushing. Lomax, here's what's your block.
Number 56.
LaFleur.
Hands in the head.
Jeff Barnes hits him after the play, right there for the roughing. What a block by LaFleur on Howie Long to give Lomax time.
What a catch by that man, Roy Green.
We talked about inspirational performances. One of the ways teams win in the NFL is to have big inspirational plays by game breakers. Roy Green's one of those. Lomax has the potential to be that kind of quarterback.
1st and goal. Wayne Morris, touchdown. Bostic and Robbins with blocking over on that right side. We talk about the opening series dictating. You think he's a happy Irishman right now?
His team has come all the way back from being down 17-0. And Wayne Morris, great effort. He's only 6 feet tall, 210 pounds, built low to the ground. Here he dodges, picks his way through, and then just refuses to go down, puts it in the end zone. And guess what, folks? St. Louis is ahead.
2nd touchdown for Morris. 5th-round pick out of SMU, and O'Donohue having better success. Raiders were not offsides, and the Cardinals, after trailing 17-0, after having an extra point block, have taken a 3-point lead.
Take a look at another look at the touchdown. Wayne Morris, number 24, up here, ducks away, powers his way in, refuses to go down. He puts St. Louis on top.
sails this one 9 yards and finally out of the end zone as Montgomery and Pruitt will watch it sail out. And just as the offense is picked up, you can see even on the specialty teams, the intensity for St. Louis picking up once again. The big question is, will it carry over to the defense?
And you might recall early, they weren't doing that on special teams. The Raiders had a couple of good returns. They were getting good field position. Now everyone on this Cardinal team is contributing.
Next Saturday, the New York Giants and the Washington Redskins. Giants, of course, and Washington, that great rivalry for so many years. New York hoped to be in the Royal of Spoilers. And, of course, the Redskins, they've got their hands full right now. It's Saturday afternoon, 11:30 Central Time. At 11 o'clock, it all starts with Brent Irv, Phyllis the Greek, and the NFL Today. Raiders from their own 20. Pitch back, Marcus Allen, student body left, behind the line of scrimmage, and the defense answers the call.
And, Jim, I'd like to tell you, next Saturday, that game, Giants at Washington. Remember, if Washington beats Dallas today, they still must beat the Giants to win a division. That is assuming Dallas beats San Francisco next week. So that's an important game for Washington, assuming they continue where they are today, beating the Dallas Cowboys.
Trying to continue the way they start the second half, the defense, as you look into the heart of the Raider offensive unit, the defense of St. Louis, they had a real rough first quarter. They fell behind 17-0. The offense kept them in it, and with some slim playoff possibilities, the Cardinals dig in, but they must win their last two games, regardless of what anybody else does. Down goes Plunkett in the grasp of Grooms, the hero of the first half. 9-year veteran out of Tennessee, 6'4", 250. That is some grasp. Look at the forearms. They look like tree trunks.
Oh, they're all, and you know, enthusiasm is contagious. Take a look at the rush here. That's number 65, Galloway, moving over. They're on an end tackle game. A lot of pressure up the middle. 78, Grooms gets a hand on Plunkett, throws him down like a rag doll to the turf. They're hot. St. Louis is hot.
From their own 8-yard line, the Raiders now look at 3rd and 22. Raiders will play it conservative. Marcus Allen almost lost the football at the 10-yard line and is chopped down up around the 18. Bubba Baker had a chance to pull the football loose along with Dave Galloway, and Marcus Allen had trouble hanging on. Lee Nelson finally made the tackle, but they are way shy of first down yardage. Watch the ball almost taken away right there.
And Marcus is carrying it out. He does fumble it a little bit. Somehow he gets control of it again. Pulls it in just before he's hit. Had he been juggling it and been hit, I think it would have popped out, Jim.
Ray Guy, one of 3 Raiders who were on the Raider roster the last time the Cardinals and the Raiders played. Then they were the Oakland Raiders. All set to punt it away, averaging about 42.5 yards per kick. And Stump Mitchell, who averages about 9 yards per punt return. And the Cardinals could come out of this with very good field position. Talk about the Raider domination. This is the first punt by Ray Guy all afternoon, and it was almost blocked. Stump Mitchell, fair catches at the 33.5-yard line. Victor Heflin almost blocked the punt of that man, Ray Guy. Cardinals lead by 3. They've got the football, and they've got good field position. The man in the black sweater and the white shirt, Tom Flores, in his 5th year, 51 wins, 26 losses. That figures out he wins about every 2 out of 3 games with the Raiders. Led them to the Super Bowl win over the Eagles back in 1980, but he told us yesterday he was guarding very much against a letdown for his Raiders as the Cardinals start 1st and 10 from their own 33. Green motion, bottom of the screen, play action to O.J. Anderson. Lomax fires, and this one is incomplete at the 45-yard line, but Howie Long had pretty good battle going on with Tootie Robbins there, and Howie Long was able to get through and almost get to Neil Lomax.
And Howie Long is a guy that says, I only do it with simple ABC moves. I don't do anything with great finesse. I don't have great speed. There you see him left side of the screen. He's rushing. He gets a hand on Lomax. Lomax just throws it up. He's lucky it wasn't intercepted. That's an unwise throw by a quarterback. Of course, he's got a lot of pressure from Howie Long.
Howie Long in his 3rd year out of Villanova. 2nd down, 10 yards to go for the Cardinals. They lead 27-24. O.J. Anderson did most of that on his own. Slithers for 5, brings up 3rd and 5. A big 3rd down call for the offense. To go back to Tom Flores, he told us at practice yesterday, and most of the Raider players confirmed that he had a different type of speech almost every day, talking to the team, trying to prevent a letdown, because you're 11-3, you've clinched the division, you've got a team coming in with a 6-7-1 record, and on paper it looked like a mismatch, but has been anything but. after that 17-0 deficit was wiped out.
Jim, he approached it from that same kind of angle, but a little bit differently. He said, we want to build. We've won 5 straight. We want to continue that momentum to the playoffs, rather than approach it from the negative angle of a letdown.
From the shotgun, Lomax goes deep for Pat Tilley. Tilley can't get to it at the 33. Otis McKinney back there on the coverage, and that's a big defensive series for the Raiders as well.
To their credit, though, as we look at a Raider down on the ground, they did not go into their shell. The Cardinals didn't. They threw the ball, which is something they have to do. You can't just run it down the number 2 defense in the NFL's throat. And that's number 37, Lester Hayes, on the ground, the fine cornerback.
He's the man that made Stickum a household word.
That's right. He's the guy that caused them to put the rule in the NFL, no Stickum. Of course, before that, Fred Biletnikoff was covered with the stuff, and no one said anything.
Otis Birdsong back to do the punting now for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Greg Pruitt would like to break a big one here for the Raiders, who find themselves on the short end of a 27-24 score. And of course, we're still charting that Redskins-Dallas game for you fans back in St. Louis who are watching on KMOX. And it is still 14-7, 14-10. 14-10, the Redskins on top over Dallas. Redskins, by the way, Doc, they've got a pretty good record after they've led at halftime.
Boy, they sure do. They've won out of their 25 games. They've been 24-1 when they've led at halftime, the Redskins. So they're tough to come back on.
Birdsong's third punt of the game. High, wobbly kick. Pruitt will have good field position. Knight down at the 35-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Raiders on the short end of a 27-24 score. We've got 8:50 left to go. Cardinals must win the next 2 to have any playoff possibilities. The Raiders, of course, have already clinched the AFC West, but they're fighting for home field as far as they can go.
Birdsong fell when he slipped. He still got the ball off, so the St. Louis Cardinals lead by 3 when we return to the Coliseum.
Along with John Dockery, I'm Jim Kelly back at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. We've got 8:50 left to go in the 3rd quarter. Cardinals clinging to that 3-point lead, but the Raiders have good field position. Barnwell out wide to the left side. Branch moves into the slot. Running backs Kenny King and Marcus Allen. Play action by Plunkett. And play action by Bubba Baker out of Colorado in his 6th year. You know, Bubba told us a couple of weeks ago, after he came over from the Lions, he was starting to dislike himself with the Detroit organization. He wasn't giving 100%, and he felt really, John, like he was cheating his teammates.
Exactly. And Bubba Baker, of course, you remember a few years back, people that follow the NFL, was the leading sacker in the NFL about 3 years ago. He had up around 20 sacks. So Bubba Baker is a force if he wants to be. Today, he's certainly been that.
Patriots, Mosey Tatupu has scored again. 14-7. Rams are on the short end. Patriots still alive in the playoff picture as well. Kenny King, not much doing over that left side. Excellent defensive play by Dave Galloway in his 2nd year out of Florida, former All-American and the number 2 draft pick of the St. Louis Cardinals. It is still 14-10. The Cowboys have the ball inside their own 10-yard line following a Redskin punt. And we're not the only ones that have tempers flaring up. That's a very heated rivalry, Redskins and Cowboys.
9 minutes left in that 3rd quarter, Jim.
Plunkett, he needs a bunt. Over the middle, looks for Todd Christensen. Incomplete at the 30-yard line. Coverage by Cedric Mack. You don't see Todd Christensen drop too many of those.
You don't, and you talk about it. Todd Christensen is a man who wants the ball all the time in every situation. He's willing to take the responsibility. A man who says, you know, like Churchill, the price of greatness is responsibility. I want the ball all the time in every situation. Watch here. They're in a double zone. That means the 2 safeties are back on either side of the field. Christensen splits the zone down the middle. That's Mack trying to catch up, but the ball is well thrown right through his hands. Christensen drops the ball. Perfect call, Jim Kelly, against that defense where the safeties are splitting and he goes down the middle. Good throw by Plunkett.
Christensen, of course, had that great game against the Chargers when he had 8 catches. Even though the pass went incomplete, defensive holding called against the Cardinals, automatic 1st down. Defensive holding call on Leonard Smith, the rookie. He's had 2 personal foul penalties, and now a holding call gives the Raiders a big 1st down. Marcus Allen around the right side, blocking by Henry Lawrence and by Mickey Marvin, but Kurt Alderman fought off the blocks, and the 7-year former All-American out of Penn State came up with a tackle.
And Todd Christensen, when you talk about him dropping that ball, which is a heartbreak for him and something we don't see very often, Christensen is just having a fabulous year and also satisfied. He was cut by the Giants. He was cut by Dallas. He came into the league as a running back. Now he's showing everyone that he is the best tight end in football. He says that himself. I'm producing more than the Kellen Winslows and people like that.
2nd and 9. Plunkett will get the first down to Cliff Branch. Branch into Cardinal territory down at the 49-yard line. He turned Wayne Smith completely around. Cliff Branch will do that to you, though. Branch, of course, came into the game.
He's been doing this for 12 years, Cliff Branch has. Take a look now. You have to respect his speed. That forces you to stay off him a little bit. Here, he has a good cushion, right? Wayne Smith comes up. Branch shows that good speed inside and gets about another 7-8 yards.
1st and 10, just across midfield. Raiders on the short end by 3, 27-24. Powering right over the middle goes Marcus Allen. He looked like a hurdling champion at USC, not too far from the Coliseum here. Grooms in control, but not before Marcus had punched his way forward for a pickup of 5.
And you get the feel now, the Raiders are saying to themselves, okay, guys, we were ahead, you guys came back, you got ahead, but now we're going to show you what we can do. We are the division winners in the AFC West. We're going to complete passes to Branch, we're going to run Allen, and we're going to move the ball down the field for a touchdown.
2nd and 5 here at the Coliseum. Bending over the veteran, Jim Plunkett. Pitch back. Heisman Trophy winner Marcus Allen hurdles again inside the 40-yard line, down at about the 39 in the grasp of Charlie Baker. Cowboys had just punted from the shadow of their own goalpost. Danny White boomed it away, but a great return by Virgil Say sets up the Redskins 1st and 10 at the Dallas 7-yard line. Riggins rambles off the right side, gets it down to about the 6, so it's still 14-10. Big defensive series for the Cowboys. They would obviously like to keep the Redskins out of the end zone, Doc.
More scores around the NFL today. They obviously were. Jim, San Diego 24-21 ahead of Kansas City in the 3rd quarter. Of course, the Raiders finish up against San Diego next week. And they buried San Diego 10 days ago. The Raiders come into this game with a lot of rest.
But the Raider people, we talked with Al Locasau, we talked with Tom Flores yesterday, they were not looking forward to the Chargers coming up here. San Diego shows so many different things offensively, and the Raiders again afraid of a letdown in the 2nd game after this game against St. Louis. Pitch back, Marcus Allen looks for the play action, and the Cardinals are not buying it. E.J. Jr. atones for that earlier touchdown catch that Marcus beat him on so badly, and he just drilled him down to the turf at midfield.
Not only did he drill him, it was perfect timing on the blitz. There are delayed blitzes in the NFL. E.J. Jr. waits for it to set up. He comes flying through a hole. He's not touched or picked up. There's Plunkett pitching back to Allen. He knocks everyone out of the way and throws Allen to the turf. Great play by E.J. Jr.
Theismann incomplete to Art Monk, so it's 3rd and 6 for the Redskins now.
You look at the sack situation today, St. Louis 4, Raiders nothing, and Raiders came in with 55, leading the NFL.
Jim Plunkett needs a bundle. He needs 18, and he won't get it in the grasp and control of Dave Galloway. The St. Louis front 4 really playing football here in the 2nd half.
Take a look at it from the end zone. That offensive line of Galloway, Baker, Greer and company just putting pressure on Plunkett. He tries to get out of this and scramble away, but Galloway won't hear of it. Another sack. That's the 5th sack, Jim Kelly. A little bit of a surprise that St. Louis is out-sacking the sack leaders in the NFL. Amazing.
And the Raiders have only allowed 2 sacks over their last 3 games. Plunkett bends down. How many 3rd and 30 plays do you have? Out of the pocket. Plunkett will need it all. Fires over the middle to Christensen, who's hammered down at the 38-yard line, but that will be way shy of 1st down yardage. Leonard Smith, the rookie, he really popped Todd Christensen.
Watch Christensen now, premier tight end in the game at the moment, left of your screen, get off the ball. They're in a zone defense. You see the linebackers trying to get the deep drop. Christensen looking for the hole. He doesn't break outside too much. Plunkett scrambling at this moment. Christensen cuts away from the defenders, right in the middle of everyone, makes the good catch, takes the hit right there.
With 3:14 and counting left in this 3rd quarter, Ray Guy apparently will punt. Interesting play call here for Tom Flores. 4th and a long 8. line of scrimmage, the 38-yard line. If he kicks it into the end zone, Cardinals will have a net difference of 18 yards. Let's see which corner Ray Guy will aim for. Near side. Looks for the corner. Did he get it? Ray Guy puts it out of bounds at the 2-yard line.
Ray Guy is happy with that call. Look at that. Hard one. The ball is very, very high, Jim. The official is over there. He marks it. See the official right down there getting the angle on the ball. He marks it about the 2-yard line. So the Raiders put the Cardinals in a deep hole. Raiders trailing 27-24 here at the Coliseum.
All of the playoff possibilities as far as the Cardinals are concerned, John Dockery, but if they don't win their last two, numbers 2 and 3 don't matter.
San Francisco or L.A. must lose their last two. Now, San Francisco has already won. L.A. is losing, so that remains. Minnesota, New Orleans, Green Bay must split their final two games. They would finish at 8-8, Jim Kelly.
Play action from his end zone. Neil Lomax will unload. Wide open is Pat Tilley. First down for the Cardinals. Pat Tilley's first catch, and it's a big one. He turned Ted Watts completely around, and what a job the maturing Neil Lomax did in the face of that awesome 3-4 rush of the Raiders. Look from the end zone.
What composure. Now think about this. You're a quarterback. You're in your end zone. You're pump faking. You can't find anyone. You start running around. You get pressure, and you still find Pat Tilley. Look at that. It wasn't the greatest pass in the world. Tilley gets his first reception of the afternoon, Jim Kelly.
Kind of a wobbly duck coming out of the end zone, but if you got Howie Long and Reggie Kinlaw chasing you, you probably wouldn't be throwing them on a rope either. Big first down for the Cardinals right now. They get it out of the
How about the call,
line. Danny Pittman and Mike Schumann, slot formation to the left side. This is motion by Danny Pittman, picked up from the Giants. Pitch back, O.J. Anderson. Big block, big hole, and he bulls his way close to a first down in the grasp of Bill Pickel, but blocking over on that right side by Bostic and by Robbins, and right now they're getting the best of it.
Take a look at the left side of your screen. Number 63 in white against number 75, Howie Long on defense. Good block by Tootie Robbins. He's a young tackle against Howie Long, possibly the best defensive end in the game. There he ties him up, occupies him. That allows Otis to cut upfield and get some good yardage. You know what's interesting, Jim? The play caller. Teams tend to win their shell when they get ahead, not the Cardinals. They throw from their end zone, complete it, and now Otis comes flying up the middle and gets some good yardage, close to the first down. As
you look at Tootie Robbins, we talked about that being perhaps the key matchup of the football game. Tootie Robbins going up against Howie Long, and the measurement now. O.J. Anderson, 14 carries, 72 yards for the St. Louis Cardinals. So he has again gone over the 1,000-yard mark for the fourth time in 5 years. Well, when last we left that Redskins-Cowboys game, Doc, it was 3rd and 7. Redskins knocking on the Cowboys' door. He went to the air. Theismann did. Tried to pass it into Joe Washington. It was picked off by the Cowboys, so they kept them out of the end zone and off the scoreboard as well.
Interesting, along the sidelines, David Humm warming up, a left-hander. Remember, Mark Wilson has a bad shoulder. He's not in uniform. He won't play. So it's Plunkett and Humm.
Almost a free play, second in the length of the football. That'll be a Cardinal first down, approaching the 40-yard line. The 8-year veteran out of SMU, Wayne Morris, who has a touchdown scamper of his own for 3 yards this afternoon. And it's still 27-24 Cardinals.
Now you saw David Humm along the sidelines. I'd be in shock if Tom Flores decided to yank Jim Plunkett today, because Plunkett has played so well in the last 5 games, only threw 1 interception and 150 some odd throws. So Plunkett is playing well, and you need the quarterback situation to be stable and settled as you go into the playoffs. So I'd be shocked if Flores decided to go with Humm.
1st and 10 for the Cardinals. Wide to the left side is Pat Tilley. Green to the top of your screen. Stump Mitchell, number 30, the lone running back now. Motion by Marsh, bottom of your screen. Lomax will fire on first down. He'll fire to Stump Mitchell. First down, Cardinals into Raider territory all the way down to the 43-yard line.
What great play selection, Jim Kelly. He wanted actually Roy Green on the right side, who was doing a slant. Watch Lomax here. He'll look to the right. This is composure. This is growth. He looks, he wants Green. He's covered. He comes right back to Mitchell as though he'd been in the league for 15 years. Mitchell picks up the first down. Lomax is in control.
That's the final play of the 3rd quarter. St. Louis Cardinals tacked on a touchdown. and have taken a 27-24 lead. We've got 15 minutes left to go in regulation here in the Los Angeles Coliseum, where the Raiders came in with a record of 11-3. They have already clinched the AFC West. They're trying to clinch home field in the playoffs as far as they can go. St. Louis at 6-7-1, still with playoff possibilities, but they must win their next 2 games. We'll be back with the fourth quarter. That's the end of the third quarter. Cardinals lead by 3, but now we pause for a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Pontiac. Cars that tell the world you're not just along for the ride. Pontiac, we build excitement. And by Lowenbrau. When it's time for the taste of a truly great beer, let it be Lowenbrau.
Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to the Coliseum here in Los Angeles. 27-24, Cardinals on top, 15 minutes left to go in regulation. St. Louis first and 10 from the 44-yard line of the Raiders. Marsh in motion, bottom of your screen. Play action fake, Neil Lomax. Dumps it off to Roy Green. Out of bounds at the 24-yard line. Lester Hayes in pursuit, but Roy Green said yesterday he felt he could beat anybody in the National Football League one-on-one. He gets the Cardinals a big first down.
And they do play man-to-man in a defensive backfield for the Oakland Raiders. Watch this, Green in the slot. That's Lester Hayes trying to run with him. Hayes actually gets bumped off. Green, great speed across the middle, makes the catch, turns it upfield. But you know what? Hayes was picked by his own man, but Lomax once again was looking for Pat Tilley. Green was his secondary receiver. What composure.
Roy Green, who had 4 touchdown catches in one half against the Seattle Seahawks earlier this year, lined up wide to the left side in a slot. Pat Tilley is outside. First and 10 for the Cardinals. They lead by 3. All kinds of motion. Right side of that St. Louis offensive line. Robbins, the right tackle. Marsh, the tight end. Let's check the call. Fred Wyatt, the referee. Lyle Alzado, Ted Hendricks, not much of a factor here in this second half. In fact, I think Alzado's been over on the bench along with Hendricks for most of the second stanza.
Jimmy saw the call there against the Cardinals.
False start, number 63, first down.
That's Robbins, the right tackle.
Jim, just to pick up on what you're saying, that Lyle Alzado injured an ankle 2 games ago. Wasn't sure how much he'd play today. He started, he played some. Ted Hendricks has a pulled stomach muscle, so he hasn't played that much this afternoon.
First and 15 from the 29. Cardinals lead 27-24. Penalty flag again goes down, as does Roy Green at the 25. And you can see the Raiders trying to really hit Green and make him force that football and come up with some kind of a turnover right now, as the Cardinals have got a little something going.
And if you want to know if the Raiders will hit you, boy, did you see McElroy come up and take his shot at Green? Green wise to get underneath that. McElroy, of course.
Number 71, first down.
Watch the catch here by Green. Watch McElroy unleash his body right there. Green gets underneath it. McElroy, the son of a Texas minister, sang in the choir, but he'll come up and crack you, won't he? Oh, remember the defensive backs. I mean, the Tatums, the Atkinsons, all of the great defensive backs that have been the tradition, the Willie Browns here. Great defensive backs over the history of Oakland.
They can hit.
And I say Oakland because they were Oakland, now they're the LA Raiders, of course.
Loose football. Cardinals get it back inside the 15-yard line. Anderson coughed it up. He was stripped of the football in the vicinity of the 20-yard line. The force by Bill Pickell. And it's first. Let's check in on that Cowboys-Redskins game. Here again is Brent Musburger. Monk put on Ron Fellows in the secondary right there, and then Michael Downs decided no high fives by the Smurfs. Cardinals looking at 2nd and 1. Lomax fires, left corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Pat Tilley. He beat the veteran Lester Hayes, and for Neil Lomax, that is the 21st touchdown toss of the season. which puts him ahead of Jim Hart in the all-time Cardinal lead.
Of course, Pat Tilley, the man who led this club in receptions for 5 straight years, coming in. The great moves, the great hands. Here, he beats Lester Hayes one-on-one. A great throw again. Look at that, over the shoulder. Hayes had no chance. Tilley had him by about 1.5 yards.
Beating Jim Hart record for one season.
A knuckleball. Another knuckleball. It's through the uprights.
13:51 left to go in this football game, and the Cardinals are doing what they had to do. They've got to win 2 in a row. They look like they've got the first one just about sealed. As light rain begins to fall here in usually sunny California, rain has been falling on the Raiders parade. What a turnaround, because it was 17-0 Los Angeles, and what a comeback by the Cardinals. You talk about character and building a program. Jim Hannafin, he has done some kind of job. And that's what Roy Green told us yesterday. He said, they have weeded out some of the players that previously might not have put out 100% for St. Louis and try to turn this program around. Greg Pruitt will try to turn the football game around, and he breaks it back to the 24-yard line. But you talk about character building. That last play, Doc, by the Cardinals, or the last drive, 98 yards. They've had a 98-yard drive, a 94-yard drive for touchdowns, and they've taken a 10-point lead, 34-24.
And Jim, they already also had in the third quarter, the opening drive of that third quarter, 66 yards in 6 plays. So they are putting it to the second-best defense in the NFL. This is amazing turnabout.
Plunkett and the Raiders have their work cut out for them here as light rain begins to fall at the Coliseum. Meanwhile, down the road, the Rams are losing to New England by a score of 14-7. And it is still 21-10. Redskins on top over the Cowboys at Texas Stadium. From the 24, Plunkett will go airborne. Almost intercepted. In the middle of double coverage, that's the rookie out of Tulane, Lionel Washington, who almost came up with a big INT.
What a good break on the ball by Lionel Washington. As we look at it from the end zone, you'll see him really charge on the ball. Actually had an interception. Plunkett hasn't thrown one in 150 throws. This one, not a good ball. Great break by the defensive back right there. The receiver falls down, but he can't hold on to it. He had 2 interceptions last week against the Giants.
Plunkett now 12 of 15, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns, but the bulk of those stats were in the first quarter. 2nd and 10. Plunkett for his life. Unloads. Frank Hawkins. Great move at the 35. He got 8 or 9 yards with a tremendous move thrown on number 52, Charlie Baker at the 35-yard line. Doc, you never had him put moves on you like that.
Veteran composure. Watch this, Jim Plunkett. He gets pressure, and Jim is a defensive back. Those receivers and running backs have such great feet, such great quickness and athletic ability. Take a look at Hawkins here. Just dumps it off like a basketball pass. There's the move. 52, Charlie Baker goes flying by. First down, Raiders.
Raiders trailing by 10. Plunkett goes airborne. He's got his man beaten. That's Malcolm Barnwell. It's intercepted by the Cardinals at the 15-yard line. The rookie Lionel Washington to the 40 and out of bounds. 1st and 10 St. Louis after the rookie from Tulane picked it off.
Jim, sometimes as a defensive back, you're lucky. Lionel Washington that time was lucky. Jim Plunkett, you saw the disgusted look on his face. His first interception in a long time, just because he underthrew this ball. Malcolm Barnwell had Washington beaten by 2-3 yards. The strength of Plunkett's arm betrayed him. Therefore, the interception by the Cardinals. They protect their 34-24 lead here at the Coliseum.
Time left for the Raiders to clinch home field as far as they can go in the AFC playoffs, and time remaining for the Cardinals to protect that 10-point lead. Big interception by the rookie Lionel Washington sets up St. Louis in good field position just across their own 40-yard line. Roy Green goes out wide to the left side. Pat Tilley comes out deployed to the right. Double tight end Doug Marsh and Greg LaFleur, and the running back O.J. Anderson. Cardinals want more. That's Roy Green. Roy Green approaching midfield at the 49, turning around Ted Watts, former All-American, out of Texas Tech.
Jim, you have to like the offensive philosophy of Jim Hannafin and the Cardinals. Not afraid to throw the ball. That's a very safe pass. You throw it in front of the defensive back, you pick up 5, 6, 7, 8 yards as they did, put you in great stead at second and short.
Well, Jim Hannafin told us yesterday, he said, look, we're going to go out and try to have some fun tomorrow. We've got everything to gain, nothing to lose. We're going to keep the wraps off the offense a little bit. Ordinarily, you might run the ball, work on the clock, try to sit on that 10-point lead, but he wants a little bit more. Second and 2. From the Raiders, and there goes Neil Lomax.
Guess who it was?
Howie Long. I'm going to tell you a story about number 75, Howie Long, all right? And maybe some of the benefits of Raider power. Nobody wants to get on the bad side of Howie Long. Could be hazardous to your health. Earlier this year, Howie, who we said lives in the Charleston section of Boston, a neighborhood not far from the combat zone, in an area that 60 Minutes says is the highest population of bank robbers in the country. Some thieves broke into Howie Long's apartment, and they took his stereo system. They broke a window to get in. Well, Long solved the problem. He went down to Polk Street, he said, where he used to hang out, and he told one of the kids on the block to spread the word. He said, I want my stereo back. The stereo reappeared mysteriously the next day. That's Raider power.
Wouldn't you bring it back if Howie Long was looking for it and possibly you? And he has led the Raiders to the most sacks in the league. Take a look. Raiders, 56 sacks, San Francisco behind him, 53 sacks, Dallas. And you know, when you talk to Howie Long, I said to him yesterday, Howie, you know, you're not a household name like a Freddie Dean or a Mark Gastineau. He said, just looked at me, no comment about Gastineau. I play defensive end the way it should be played. I play the run, I play the pass, and I'm not out for headlines. Boy, did you see his face when I said Gastineau? Oh.
The cerebral Howie Long. I'll tell you, though, the Jets yesterday, they're getting blown out by the Steelers, and they're high-fiving after their only touchdown.
You know, you talk about disappointing teams in the NFL. Certainly the Jets have to be one. The San Diego Chargers have to be one.
How about this? From the shotgun, Lomax, 3rd and 11. Over the middle. Got his man. First down. O.J. Anderson at the 40 of the Raiders. He beat Jeff Barnes.
O.J. Anderson out of the backfield. You saw Marcus Allen do it on the other side, beat Junior for a touchdown. This time it's the Cardinals' turn. They send their powerhouse out of the backfield. O.J. Anderson, he beats Barnes for the first down. Again, it's play calling, it's balance, it's running, it's throwing, it's not going into your shell, it's being comfortable and saying, gentlemen, we're here to win this game. We're not just going to finish out the season. We're going to show you how things might have been in St. Louis and how good we just may have been.
Of course, the Cardinals go into East Rutherford. They'll tangle with the Giants next week. Raiders are at home against San Diego. 1st and 10. St. Louis, they lead by 10. O.J. Anderson, right side. Nice block by Wayne Morris on Howie Long. You talk about a mismatch. Morris is 6 feet, 210 pounds, and Howie Long is 6'5", 270, and might be loaded up with Skippy peanut butter.
Right.
That's how he put on that bulk with peanut butter sandwiches, not by lifting weights. But watch the block by number 24 here to spring O.J. around the left side.
Right there. You see him go for the legs. Probably the best thing to do. That occupies Howie Long long enough. Long, though, gets up and gets in on the tackle, and that's to his credit. He's a man that never quits. That's what makes him so good.
O.J. Anderson now, 16 rushes for a total of 80 yards. Knocking on that century mark again. Stump Mitchell and Wayne Morris are the running backs. Receivers are split left and right. Green right, Philly left. Stump Mitchell. Little stutter step inside the 35, down to the 33, in the grasp of Rod Martin. He's been quiet today, 7-year linebacker out of USC. That's the first tackle by Rod Martin.
Take a look at Howie Long. We talked about how good he is, but watch Wayne Morris again on Howie Long. That's the fullback leading the play, coming up, meeting the end right. They takes him low, cuts his legs. That occupies him. Defensive ends hate that, Jim. They hate their legs to be threatened. Take him up high, you have no chance. Take him down low, makes a lot of sense, especially if you're only 6 feet, 210 pounds. And this guy's 270.
And growing.
And growing.
Slot to the left side. Green is in, Philly is out. Stump Mitchell. Looked like they had a bit of a mix-up in the backfield that time and some indecision. And the Raiders came up with a big defensive play. That's what they needed to do on 3rd and long. And we will undoubtedly see Mr. Birdsong once again. They just started the 4th quarter in Dallas. It's still 21-10. Redskins on top. Cowboys have the football at midfield.
And Howie Long, I mean, is having his problems this afternoon. Take a look at Wayne Morris again, comes at him, will go down low. Howie Long is ready for him this time, tries to get his hands out in front. Watch this, Howie. Wait a minute, what are you doing now? That's when a defensive end might just step on you. I saw Joe Green do that a few times to people. I couldn't believe it. You get those defensive ends angry, and boy, they get mean.
He did that to people he liked.
Right.
Birdsong looks for the coffin corner, sails it into the end zone, so the Raiders get a break. They'll start 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. 8:25 left to go in this football game. Cardinals must win 2 to get into the playoffs. They lead by 10. We've got 8:25 left to go here in the 4th quarter. Cardinals 34, Raiders 24. And the rain picking up in intensity here in Los Angeles. The Raiders start from their own 20-yard line. Cliff Branch comes out wide to the left side. Malcolm Barnwell deployed to the top of your screen. Running backs are split. Kenny King. Check it. It's Frank Hawkins and Marcus Allen. Frank Hawkins. Pickup to the 23-yard line.
And Jim, there's an example of what Jim Plunkett told us. He said, you know, I'm playing better now, throwing less interceptions because, first of all, our offensive line is healthy and they're playing better. We've simplified our system and we're playing better. Also, I'm taking the underneath passes. He did it right there to Frank Hawkins to pick up about 4 yards.
We mentioned the fact that the Cowboys are starting the 4th quarter. They've got it at the 35-yard line of the Redskins. And Tony Dorsett takes a little swing pass out from Danny White and picks up about 15 yards. In the meantime, Jim Plunkett finds Todd Christensen for a Raider first down. He goes out of bounds at the 43-yard line. Chased out by Cedric Mack, the rookie out of Baylor. Big first down for Plunkett and Los Angeles.
Take a look at it again. Christensen, those great hands, good movement, drives into the defensive back, then just breaks away. Here you see him coming across, running away from the defensive back. Plunkett lays it out there perfectly. Christensen with a straight arm, just get away from me, you flea. Gets a few extra yards.
Christensen with 12 touchdown passes so far this year. The club record is 16 by Art Powell, and then Cliff Branch with 13. Plunkett airborne again underneath. Got Christensen again. First down. Raiders again at the 45 of St. Louis.
Christensen, a man that's just so happy to be here with the Raiders. Talks about the individuality that you're allowed to be. Take a look at him here. He knows it's a zone. He gets a little bit of bump. He fights off Baker and then just hooks up. Plunkett reads it. There's good timing. Makes the reception with his hands. Falls forward for a few extra yards.
From the 45 of the Cardinals, Plunkett bending in. Branch wide left. Barnwell top of your screen. Plunkett, look out. Here come the Cardinals on a blitz. Fires over the middle. Double coverage. Incomplete at the 8-yard line. Wayne Smith all over Cliff Branch. And Plunkett, finally they came. It was kind of a delayed safety blitz.
It was, Jim. They had a lot of people coming, E.J. Jr. and company, but the offensive line picked it up, so Plunkett had some time. But there was good coverage by Wayne Smith. He got some help from Benny Perrin. So the Cardinal defense is playing outstanding right now against a team, the Raiders, who have good weapons to come back. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Christensen, by the way, is playing in his 68th consecutive game. He's got 5 receptions, 72 yards. Plunkett now 15 of 19, 234 yards. 2nd and 10 Raiders. They trail by 10. Cardinals with a nickel-back defense on 2nd and 10 Raiders. Plunkett. Incomplete to Todd Christensen. Fans are screaming for maybe pass interference, and I'm not so sure they might not be right. Leonard Smith either made a great defensive play or the first-round draft pick was over the back of number 46. How'd you see it as a defensive back?
The defensive back, of course, there wasn't any pass interference. I mean, we can't pamper those wide receivers and tight ends any more than we already do. I mean, they're simply overpaid prima donnas. Take a look at the upper right-hand side of your screen, and we'll seriously take a look at it for you now, folks. You got to watch number 45 right here. Looks like he might have been there a little bit early, honestly, Jim.
3rd and 10, Raiders down by 10. Blitz is on. Plunkett unloads over the middle on the post pattern to Branch. He misses him at the 5-yard line. Branch had double coverage, and he will draw a crowd. Wayne Smith and Cedric Mack are back there, and Ray Guy comes on to do the punting. Kind of a surprising call with 6:45 left to go, and you're down by 10 points. We mentioned in the first half, Ray Guy, one of 3 Raiders who originally played in the last game, the only game that the Raiders in St. Louis have hooked up in, back in 1973. You know who started at quarterback in that game for the Raiders?
For the Raiders, let me see. Oh, Snake Stabler. Who else? Wasn't that the beginning of the Snake Stabler era for the Oakland Raiders?
Was indeed.
Now the Snake, one of the few quarterbacks in the NFL that still calls his plays at New Orleans. They won today, by the way, Jim. Beat Philadelphia.
Ray Guy will go for the far coffin corner. Stump Mitchell will watch it sail out of bounds. He got it again. He put the last one out of bounds at the 2. This one at the 4.5. But the last time he put it out of bounds at the 2, Cardinals went 98 yards for a touchdown. The St. Louis Cardinals, 6 minutes and 37 seconds away from a 34-24 win. Cardinals ball when we return. A reminder for you fans at KMOX in St. Louis, Cardinals leading 34-24 here. At the conclusion of this game, we'll take you to Texas Stadium in Dallas for the conclusion of that Redskins-Cowboys game. Right now, though, the Redskins are up 21-10 after a pass interference against the Cowboys. They've got it first and goal, Washington does, at the Dallas 7-yard, or make it the 4-yard line. First and 10, St. Louis at their own 4. They lead by 10, and O.J. Anderson takes the pitch back, and he barrels up to the 9-yard line. Blocking over on that right side again by Bostic and Robbins. Jeff Barnes hanging on.
Jim, remember last time when they were buried down deep in their own territory, they threw the pass, Lomax out of the end zone to Tilly. Here, another big play. Otis Anderson barrels ahead for about 5 yards. They send motion the other way to try to get the defense thinking that direction. They bring Otis back, and they get good yardage.
San Diego, no problem at all with Kansas City in that game. They're up by a 14-point bulge, and look what Denver's getting shut out at home by the Colts.
San Diego might be tough on these Raiders next week.
And, of course, the Redskins-Cowboys, you'll see the end of that game at the end of this one. Second, short yardage, that's a first down. Neil Lomax, pinpoint passing, his first completion of the game to Danny Pittman, number 85, former wide receiver of the Giants. Jim Hannafin again told us he's very high on Danny Pittman.
Yes, he was hoping for an inspirational performance from Pittman, who grew up out here in California, and they just picked him up from the Giants, as you said. But you know what? You see the rain falling here, yet what do the Cardinals do? They're still willing to throw the ball. They're showing some arrogance against one of the best defenses in the NFL. They're saying, we're going to move the ball. This is our game, and we're not going to give it back to you.
About 5:15 left to go when the ball is snapped. Cardinals look at first and 10. Sweep to the right side. Anderson picks up 1, brings up second down, and 9 yards to go. Rod Martin, veteran out of USC, cut by the Raiders back in '77 after being drafted in the 12th round, but then re-signed again, made the tackle defensively.
Rod Martin, possibly the best linebacker on the Raiders right now. Most people talk about Hendricks, but Rod Martin is certainly a solid player. Great year last year, is doing the same this season. Now, Jim, you look at the situation. There's 4 minutes, 40 seconds left in the game. The Raiders trail by 10 points. They need to shut down St. Louis right now, get the ball back. They have big play capabilities on offense, but you can't do it if the Cardinals are going to be consuming the clock with this type of drive.
O.J. Anderson will try it around the left side. Cracks across the 25 up near the 27-yard line. Third and short. The Rams falling behind New England. Mosey to Tupu, his third touchdown run of the afternoon. He's had runs of 7, 5, and 4 yards.
And you know, Jim, this keeps the Cardinals' hopes alive. Just once again to reiterate it, St. Louis must win their last 2. San Francisco or L.A. must lose their last 2. And Minnesota, New Orleans, Green Bay split their final games. So St. Louis still in the playoff hunt.
Shotgun by Neil Lomax. In the rain, fires underneath, incomplete. Roy Green on a post pattern. And it'll be Birdsong coming up and trying to do the punting.
Jim, Lomax just threw that ball away. He knew the rush was on. He didn't want to throw an interception. He didn't want to accept the sack, so he just threw it away. Another mark of a maturing young quarterback.
Birdsong in a driving rain. Otis Anderson now 18 carries, 93 yards. Needs 7 more for the century mark. Greg Pruitt backs up, fields at the 21. Will get out of bounds at about the 30-yard line where they'll mark his forward progress. So we've got 3.5 left to go in regulation here in Raiderland. Los Angeles on the short end by 10. Cardinals lead it 34-24. Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to the Coliseum, a rain-soaked Coliseum right now where the Raiders are on the short end by 10. You saw the time left in this football game. A dramatic comeback by the Cardinals for you fans back at KMOX in St. Louis. St. Louis falling behind 17-0. And since then, they have been awesome. Todd Christensen drops the football. That's a free ball. It goes out of bounds. Raiders get a break because that was a free football.
You saw the referee looking at the ball. It was a free. It was a fumble. Christensen just coughed it up after being tackled. Lee Nelson all over him, along with Cedric Mack. And it rolls out of bounds, so they retain possession. Now, Jim, this is a team that can come back. They have the big weapons. They have Christensen. They have Branch on the outside. Barnwell with great speed. Plus, they have Plunkett and Marcus Allen. So they're a team that can come back and score in a hurry.
They will need to do exactly that with 3:23 left in regulation. Slot to the right side. Barnwell outside. Plunkett goes underneath. Dropped at the 39-yard line. That's a tough one for a receiver down there around the ankles. Pressure put on by Al Bubba Baker.
And this is a credit to the St. Louis Cardinals defense. Bubba Baker and company, Greer, putting pressure on Plunkett all afternoon. We said earlier in the show, if they were going to win this afternoon, that Curtis Greer, Baker, Galloway, Grooms would have to get into Plunkett's face, and that's what they've been doing. They've made things happen. They picked up a fumble for a touchdown after Baker knocked it out of Plunkett's hands, and that's been the difference, the pressure from the defense.
6 defensive backs in there for the St. Louis Cardinals now as Plunkett bends in and looks at 3rd and 5. Branch to the left, Barnwell in motion, top of your screen. Plunkett, that will be very close to a first down for the Raiders. Malcolm Barnwell in his 3rd year out of Virginia Union, a 7th-round draft pick back in 1980, hammered down by Lee Nelson. First down for the Raiders, they keep it alive. Plunkett, badly thrown ball, underthrown in the rain. You don't see Jim throw too many like that.
That was just a poorly thrown ball. Marcus Allen was slipping out of the backfield, tiptoeing his way between the linebackers. He was open. That would have been a good gain had Plunkett been able to get him the ball, Jim.
Cardinals doing a little more than stunning now. They've taken Curtis Greer from the right side, put him over on the left, and Bubba Baker lines up over on the right side. Bubba told us he had quite an adjustment to make to learn to play that left defensive end position. You're now lined up against the tight end. The running backs will block you. If you have a different stance, it's a different kind of a pass rush. So it was an adjustment for him to make since he came over from the Detroit Lions. Raiders look at 2nd and 10. They are down by 10. Plunkett, right side, got Branch. That's a first down for the Raiders. Lose football. Cardinals will pick it up. Did the ball blow? It was blown dead at the 47-yard line. It'll come back. Benny Perrin's apparent touchdown is nullified. It'll be a first down for the Raiders at the 47 of St. Louis.
Take a look at it again. That was very close. You see Smith over there, Wayne Smith arguing a little bit. Plunkett back to pass. The blitz is on. You see Junior on the left side. He's picked up. Plunkett gets the ball to Branch. Branch tries a move right there on Cedric Mack, but Mack rips the ball away. They said the whistle had blown, so that Benny Perrin picking it up, running for a touchdown. Not good for the Cardinals. They retain possession.
Well, it was always difficult for the visiting team, whether the Raiders' home base was Oakland or Los Angeles, right?
They're still talking about it, Jim. Referees.
Tell you what, though, when you look at the Raider organization and the fact that they win about 62% of the time and have been to the Super Bowl and been victorious there under Al Davis's leadership.
The correct time on the clock is 2:34. It will be wound.
So while they reset the clock, Al Davis, a man who really rewards loyalty. There are 7 former full-time Raider players now occupying positions in the Raider front office.
It's interesting that Mike Haynes was telling us that the Raider organization, you're not old at 29 or 30. They'll allow you to play as long as you can perform. And that's the whole style of taking renegades, outcasts, and making them part of their unit, their team.
Slot to the left side. Plunkett goes up top again, 1st and 10. Looks for all of it, looks for Branch. Intercepted at the 7-yard line. Wayne Smith, in his 4th year out of Purdue, Plunkett picked off for the second time, 3 turnovers. The Raiders had 1 costly fumble, 2 interceptions against Plunkett, despite the fact that Jimmy had 3 touchdown passes in the first half.
Take a look at it again. Plunkett just doesn't get this ball out far enough. Wayne Smith makes a good reaction to it, but had Plunkett thrown it out over the top a little bit more than he did, you see it's underthrown right there, and Branch doesn't have a chance. Wayne Smith comes up with another interception, and that shuts down the drive for the Raiders.
So we've got 2:21 left to go in regulation. The Cardinals have just about sealed it. They lead 34-24 against the Raiders. The preceding announcement brought to you by the National Football League. You see Lyle Alzado, number 77, in the right foreground of that picture. What, of course, he has been on defense, though not in the second half. Raiders, of course, 11-3, have already clinched the AFC West. They were playing for best record in the AFC. And, of course, the Dolphins yesterday, with that win against Atlanta, upped their record to 11-4. If this score stands, and there's no reason to think that the Cardinals will not win, then the Raiders would go to 11-4 and open up all kinds of possibilities for home field advantage between the Dolphins and the Raiders in the AFC playoffs. Cardinals from deep in their own territory. O.J. Anderson will just bowl over the left side, and he has just gained over 100 yards in this football game. Meanwhile, let's go to Texas Stadium and New York simultaneously. Brent Musburger, what's happening with the Redskins and the Cowboys? Jim, the Redskins and the Cowboys are going to hook horns at least one more time before this season rings to a close.
And it's been Dallas turnovers, Jim. A couple of interceptions led to Redskin TDs. That's the problem with most teams that have trouble in the NFL. Turnovers.
Now you take a look at that NFC East. The Redskins, to win the division, would have to finish up with a better record than the Cowboys. Of course, one will win the division and one will be the wild card team. And that's why I got to believe they're going to meet one more time, Doc.
You would think so, Jim. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, it's a long shot. Very complicated playoff procedure. They have a long shot to get there, but it's very slim. We'll know after today because of all the complications, combinations.
A 10-point Cardinal lead and quite a St. Louis comeback. Raider fans speckled throughout the stands, imploring their defense to strip O.J. Anderson of the football, but he's off to a foot race across the 30 down to the 35. First down, St. Louis. Van McElroy was merely chasing O.J.
And, Jim, you look at the development of the St. Louis Cardinals. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. The St. Louis Cardinals are a team on the verge of being very competitive. But we're going to talk more about that when we come back here to the Coliseum. Of course, St. Louis leading 34-24, and a great comeback. As we said, they were down 17-0. They hung in there. They are now up by 10. There's 2 minutes left. We'll be back in a moment.
Time left in this football game, and the Cardinals, after falling behind 17-0, after seeing Jim Plunkett throw 3 first-half touchdowns, came back with a vengeance. They closed it to 24-20 just before the end of the first half on a dramatic play. Bubba Baker and Curtis Green putting all kinds of pressure. Groom scooped it up, went 40 yards, and the Cardinals closed to just a 4-point deficit. They scored on their first possession of the second half to take a 27-24 lead, and then Lomax took them 98 yards, threw 15 yards to Pat Tilley, 34-24, and that's where we are right now. All right, now let's update that playoff picture for those of you back at St. Louis who've been watching this football game on KMOX. In information supplied by the National Football League, we had been telling you that the Cardinals could still have some slim playoff hopes if they won their last 2 football games. And, of course, they have 50% there. They've got the Giants next week. However, because the 49ers have already won, their record is 9-6. That game against Buffalo in Buffalo today. And because right now the Rams are losing to the Patriots 21-7 by virtue of 3 Mosey Katupu touchdown runs, if the Rams lose, they would be 8-7. The New Orleans Saints in overtime, 20-17 against the Philadelphia Eagles at Veterans Stadium this afternoon. So New Orleans is 8-7. Because New Orleans plays the Rams, the winner of that game would come out with a record of 9-7.
And thereby be a playoff and knock the St. Louis Cardinals out of the playoff picture. Exactly, Jim. It was very complicated. The NFL headquarters went to their computer, and that's what they spat out for us, folks.
So the Cardinals will up their record to 7-7-1, and that Monday night tie, where Neil O'Donohue had all kinds of problems. We really can't put it just on Neil's shoulders because Roy Green dropped a touchdown pass. O.J. Anderson dropped a touchdown pass. It was just a sloppy football game. that tie looms very large now in the St. Louis record for this year.
And in truth, Jim, they had their shot. I mean, they played in Dallas, and they had a chance to control their own destiny. Instead, they lost 35-14 on Thanksgiving Day. So really, you can't blame it on anyone but themselves.
But unlike Thanksgiving Day, when they fell behind the Cowboys, they came back here against the Raiders after a 17-0 deficit. A lot of teams would have folded the tent. Cardinals did not. It means, for the St. Louis fans, of course, a good foundation for Coach Jim Hannafin. And the fact now, they've only lost, John Dockery, 2 of their last 9 football games.
Things bid well for the future, Jim. I was just going to say, when you look at it, 2 years ago, they built around the offensive line with Lewis Sharp and Tootie Robbins. Last year, defensive backfield with Smith, Mack, and Washington. Next year, they may, shore up. Jim Hannafin was telling us that, yeah, we might like a linebacker and maybe another speedy wide receiver. So they're on the verge of being really respectable.
And he also feels, as you take a look at next Saturday here on CBS Sports, the Giants in the role of spoiler against the Redskins, who have had things pretty much their own way so far this afternoon at Texas Stadium. Washington, if they beat the Giants, of course, would clinch the NFC Eastern Division. It all starts at 11 o'clock Central Time with Brent, Irv, Phyllis, the Greek, and the NFL Today. Kickoff at 11:30 Central Time for you fans in St. Louis, and you will see what could be a big game in the NFC Central. The Lions, if they beat Tampa Bay, they could clinch that NFC Central next Sunday. Meanwhile, we are just 147 away from putting this one into the record books. O.J. Anderson had visions of lateraling the ball back to Neil Lomax. He was in the grasp of Greg Townsend, but he thought better of giving up the loose football. You talk about the Cardinals building. Jim Hannafin had a very difficult decision, whether to go with the young and very talented youngster, Neil Lomax, or the veteran, Jim Hart, who admittedly still can play great football for you. He opted to go with the young and the improving Neil Lomax. In the preseason, Jim Hannafin said in their preseason game against the Chicago Bears, that's really where that man, Neil Lomax, came of age. He had the fine preseason game. That's when he knew he was going with the youngster.
He is definitely going to be one of the top-flight quarterbacks in the NFL. He showed today his poise, his execution, excellent. Also, Jim, I think, Lomax is part of the future. And one of the reasons that the Cardinals had problems this year, Lomax was hurt for the better part of the first 6 games. That's when the Cards had most of their problems. Then they put a few games together. They won a whole bunch in the middle of the season. They won 5 of their last 8 games. So the Cardinals are on a roll. They want to finish up strong with thoughts about maybe playoffs next year, though.
Offense, 4th down.
Of course, being in the same division with Washington and Dallas, well, that's a tough situation. Of course, we're going to go to that Washington and Dallas game after this, time permitting.
Cardinals let the 30-second clock expire. They took the 5 yards, so Birdsong will bang it away. Of course, the Raiders will come and try to block this punt with just 1:03 left to go. Pruitt hopefully will set the Raiders up in good field position. Look out. Birdsong gets it away. It's a wobbly kick that Pruitt will field at the 38 and go almost out of bounds at the 43. He is hammered out after getting up to about the 44-yard line. Bill Whitaker, 3rd year out of Missouri, put the hit on Greg Pruitt. So with just 53 seconds left to go, let's see how Tom Flores will play it. Now, when you've got a banged-up Mark Wilson in a game that really is out of hand, 10 points, do you go with Jim Plunkett? Do you risk an injury in the rain? Or do you put in perhaps David Humm and say, all right, we'll take our lumps today and get ready for the Chargers next week?
Jim, I stay with Jim Plunkett. He's my quarterback. We have to be thinking playoffs. Maybe he can make something happen, possibly a miracle with 53 seconds left. But I stay with my quarterback. I don't sit him down.
Slot to the right side. Barnwell is out. Branch is inside. Plunkett, safety valve, batted down on a great defensive play by Dave Galloway. He has played some kind of second half. He's had 2 sacks, 2 solo sacks here in the second half. He, along with Curtis Greer, putting all kinds of pressure on Jim Plunkett. Don't forget, we've been telling you about the Redskins and the Cowboys shootout down at Texas Stadium. 28-10, the last time we checked in with Brent.
There it is, Jim. Washington has taken a 31-10 lead late in the 4th quarter.
So Mark Mosley, who missed a costly field goal in their first meeting at RFK Stadium, has tacked on 3 more. We'll take you there at the end of this one. That's just 45 seconds from now. Plunkett in the grasp and control of about 3 St. Louis Cardinals. Stafford Mays, 4 years out of Washington, the first to get through. And that's what I mean. You really run the risk of having Jim Plunkett come out of this game a little more banged up.
You're exactly right. Stafford Mays manhandled Jim Plunkett. You see him trying to fix his pads. He practically ripped his shirt and his helmet off, threw him to the ground, and that's a chance you take. But look, he's the quarterback. This is a physical game, and that's the way it is. You have to deal with it, live with it.
Third and about 20 from the 34 of the Raiders. Plunkett pump fake, ball's batted down, picked off by Bubba Baker. Bubba Baker intercepts. That is the third interception, the fourth turnover. 1 fumble recovery, 3 interceptions, 1st and 10 Cardinals. Their record goes to 7-7-1. The Raiders will fall to 11-4.
Turnovers have been part of this game. Take another look at it. Plunkett back to pass. Bubba Baker right there, fighting ahead. You'll see him come in right in the middle of your screen. Plunkett still looking. The ball's up in the air. Bubba actually had Plunkett, but keeps the presence of mind to make the interception. And St. Louis has dominated. The St. Louis defense has dominated the offense of the Los Angeles Raiders this afternoon. 4 turnovers for the Raiders. Really the costly thing, Jim. No turnovers for St. Louis.
Barring a penalty, this should be the last play of the football game. Cardinals will not have to start the clock again. Just 22 ticks remaining. Neil Lomax falls on the football, and that should just about do it. A great comeback for the Cardinals after falling behind 17-0. The big play that turned it around. Groom scooping up a loose fumble, going 40 yards just before the end of the first half to cut the Cardinal deficit to a 24-20 margin, and then to start the third quarter on the St. Louis first possession. 66 yards in 6 plays. Wayne Morris around the right side. St. Louis led for the first time, and the only time they would need, 27-24. They shut the Raiders out the rest of the way, despite the facts Lomax took them on a 98-yard drive, capped off with a 15-yard scoring strike to Pat Tilley. 34-24, the final here. The Cardinals on top over the Los Angeles Raiders. So, as we said, they upped their record to 7-7-1. The Raiders fall to 11-4, and we'll be going to Dallas in just a couple of seconds. John Dockery, nice game and good season, partner.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, Jim Kelly. And the story of this game was really emotion. Okay, the Raiders were somewhat flat. They were looking down the road to the playoffs. St. Louis came in, they were hungry. They fought from 17 points down. They showed emotion in the defensive line. We said that at the top of the show. If guys like Bubba Baker, Curtis Greer could get to Plunkett, that would be the difference. They did. Plunkett threw a couple of interceptions, a couple of key turnovers, and that was the difference in this game. A credit to Jim Hannafin.
The executive producer of NFL football on CBS Sports is Terry O'Neill. The executive producer, Charles Milton III. Today's game produced by Californian Mike Burks and directed by Joe Carolay. Our spotter up in the booth is Billy Werndell. Now this is Jim Kelly. But